Bam, he says. I should probably check. Okay. I was working on a video thing. I gotta make sure I don't delete. I kept them in the same folder that I had that I keep folder of the streams in, the recorded just streams, and I need to make sure I don't mix everything up here by the time it all is ready. It's Higurashi Tuesday. The going live notification said this. Not to sound dramatic or anything. I've talked about it a bit before. This is gonna be definitely the last Higurashi stream for like at least a week, probably like a week and a half. Probably a week and a half or so. Just because of like scheduling stuff and everything. Because like I said, I don't think I'm going to be reading Higurashi this weekend. So, yeah, since I'll be gone half the weekend, and then the other day I'm probably going to want to do other things. So, the last Higurashi for just a bit, but it will return. It'll be all good. But yeah, small programming note there. The last bit of Higurashi reread, it was that tale of we were seeing like the flashback thing or whatever of definitely not Rika with a lighter hair color palette person. And all the fire and all that jazz. I don't know how to recap it 100% well. So it was a weird one. It was at the right of the end of the last stream. It was a small little section about that whole business. So yeah, go back to that if you must, if you want to see. We'll pick up right from there. Pretty sure. Let's see. Where are we at? Are we on page 2? Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. Alright. Let's try to read for like 2 or 3 hours or so here. Alright, everyone. That's all for today. Class representative? Huh?
Kids!
Oh, all rise. And bow. I lost myself for a moment there, so I was slow to react. At any rate, everyone responded goodbye in unison, so somehow my commands must have gotten through to them. Ah, forgot to say clean up in there. He's a bad class leader. Sorry, I'm adjusting audio on my end. Okay, anyway, that was really a weird dream. A familiar-looking girl in an old-fashioned shrine... Oh, it was his dream. Look at that. In an old-fashioned shrine maiden outfit, fighting a demon amidst roaring flames, and then... Come to think of it, haven't I seen that demon from my dream somewhere before? Keiichi-kun, are you feeling tired today? I'm perfectly fine. That's what I like to say, but sorry. I'm really sleepy. Even as I answered her, my eyes were fogged over and my eyelids felt heavy. Plus, a slight yawn leaked out immediately after saying that. I like to get a good night's sleep, if at all possible, but right now, it's time for club activities. If I don't put some grit into it and wake myself up, I'll be setting a bad example for everyone in the class. Are you alright? You put on a great show yesterday, so maybe best to head home for the day and get some rest. Plus, Rika-chan's out today. I turned my head to look. Just as Mion said, Rika-chan's desk was vacant today. Probably staying at the clinic after everything that happened yesterday. I guess Rika-chan overworked herself too. She went through her entire performance even though her injuries still haven't fully healed. It's only natural for her to be tired. But a tired and sleepy Keiichi-kun is so cute.
ちで一緒に寝る？
Would you like to sleep over at Rina's house?
お布団一緒でどうかな？
What if we shared a futon? What if?
レナ、自分で何言ってるか分かってるか？
Rina, do you realize what you're saying?
大丈夫だよ。
It'll be alright.
レナが優しく癒してあげるから。
Rina will gently heal you. How? Oh boy. Who on earth would be okay with that? And the face didn't look soothing, it looked indecent. If it wasn't girl saying this, I'd be turning her into the police. At any rate, I'm pretty tired today. In the end, I was practically up until dawn and couldn't sleep. Really, I only looked away for a moment. Last night, on Rika-chan's suggestion, I carried the horned girl named Hanyu to Rika-chan's house. Then I laid her down on the floor and turned away to help Rika-chan pull the bedding out of the closet, but the moment I looked back... Huh? Hanyu! I was certain I'd set Hanyu down on the floor right there, but there was nobody there. Impossible! I tossed the futon in my hands aside and touched the tatami-lined floor. Felt slightly damp, still clearly wet, which meant that Hanyu really was here until just a moment ago. What's going on? Rika-chan! As I stared in bewilderment at the damp residue, Rika-chan slipped past me and walked out of the room, and then she screamed at the top of her lungs out in the darkness of the night. Hanyu! Where did you go? Hanyu! Please answer me! Rika-chan continued desperately calling out to Hanyu as the tears wrenched at her throat. Her voice echoed against the rustling mountain breeze before being quietly sucked into the stillness of the dark, but no matter how carefully I listened, there was never any reply. Hanyu, come on! Why aren't you at my side? Why did you leave me? Come on! Tell me! Please, I'm begging you, Hanyu, just answer me that. Rika-chan. Hanyu. Hanyu. So upsetting. Rika-chan huddled down on the spot in exhaustion and bawled out loud as tears came streaming down her face. Seeing her like that, I couldn't help but move closer and gently hug her little body. Rika-chan, is that the girl you told me about? Still sobbing, Rika-chan didn't answer, but instead clung to my chest. I took that as confirmation and then tried to remember what I could of Hanyu, who I'm certain I carried in my arms earlier. Just disappearing. I'm sure she was still alive. I felt her lightly shivering the moment I picked her up. Her shoulders were faintly moving up and down and her mouth was letting out pained gasps, so I could tell she was breathing. But her body felt surprisingly cold, and she had those two large horns on her head. And it seemed like there was a cut-like groove in the right horn, but maybe that was part of a pattern. In any case, it was hard to think of her as a mere human being. Who on earth was that girl? That was Hanyu. My companion on this endless cycle of death and rebirth, who had been by my side since the day I was born. I'm not sure if I should be asking about this, but those things on her head. Sorry. I don't really know the details either. Really. Rika-chan seemed to be calming down as she said that, then pulled away from my grasp to wipe the tears from her eyes. And then she gazed straight up at me and spoke up. I have a question of my own, if you don't mind. Keiichi, how are you able to touch Hanyu? Huh? What do you mean? No, even before that. You were asking about her horns. That means you got a good look at Hanyu, right?
どうして見えたの？あの子の姿が。
How were you able to see her?
いや、どうしてって言われても。
Well, even if you ask me why, Rika-chan was staring straight at me with a serious look on her face. Still, I had no idea how to answer her question.
ただ川を眺めてたら、不意に上流の方に岩みたいな影が見えて。
I was just looking along the river and suddenly saw a shadow on the rocks upstream.
それでよく見たら、その周りに布みたいなのが動いてたから、人かなってさ。
And when I looked closer, I thought I saw clothes swaying around, so I wondered if it might be a person.
そういう意味じゃないの。
That's not what I meant. Rika-chan turned her gaze down and shook her head from side to side, like she couldn't comprehend it.
あの子の姿を見ることができたのは、私が覚えている限りでも、あなたが初めて。
For as far back as I can recall, you're the first person who was able to see her.
それもたまたまじゃない。
And that's no coincidence.
あの子の姿を私以外の人は見ることができないって言ってたのは、他ならぬあの子なのよ。
She even told me herself that nobody other than me could see her. According to Rika-chan, she didn't really understand the fundamentals of it, but the girl I'd just been holding in my arms, Hanyu, was an extraterrestrial being of a higher quantum order, basically a totally different life form. The components that make up her body are inherently microscopic and travel at extremely high speed, so just reducing that speed enough to make her perceptible to normal human eyes apparently consumed a huge amount of life force. And to make herself tangible enough to actually be touched would consume so much it would put her life in danger. That's an interesting science there. Rika-chan was the one exception to this rule, able to perceive Hanyu through something other than audio-visual cues, but even she had never managed to touch Hanyu before.
じゃあ。
Huh? Then seriously, what was going on with me holding Hanyu just now?
一体何が起こってるの？
What on earth is going on with Hanyu?
これはいい兆し。
Is this a good sign?
それとも悪い兆し。
Or a bad omen?
この世界は一体何なの？
What is happening in this world?
わからない。何が何だか私にもわからない。
I don't understand. I don't understand any of this.
落ち着いて、リカちゃん。
Rika-chan, calm down. I placed my hands on Rika-chan's shoulders to comfort her as she clung to her head and ruffled her hair in frustration. She seemed to come back to her senses, then sighed and looked up with mixed feelings on her face.
ごめんなさい、ケイチ。
Sorry, Keiichi.
予想外の連続で気が立ってしまったみたい。
All these shocking events one after another really got to me.
いいって。
It's fine.
それよりも、羽生の行方を探すことが先決。
More importantly, our priority right now is to find Hanyu and... That moment. The faint silence was pierced by a distinctly artificial sound, so I stopped talking and listened more closely.
ケイチ？
Keiichi? There's something ringing. Is that... a telephone?
電話だ。
It's the phone.
リカちゃんの部屋から。
And it's coming from your room.
こんな時間に？
At this hour? Rika-chan and I dubiously looked at each other, but then nodded at one another and headed up to the room together. And then, I gingerly lifted the phone, which had been ringing for quite a while now, and held it up to my ear.
もしもし。
Hello?
赤坂です。
This is Akaska.
じゃあ、君は？
And you are?
あ、俺、前原圭一です。
Oh, it's me, Keiichi Maibara.
リカちゃん。
Rika-chan? As soon as I heard it was Akaska-san, I handed the phone over to Rika-chan. Then I leaned my ear in closer so I could hear what he had to say.
変わりました。もしもしなのです。
Hello? It's me now.
どうしましたか？
What's going on?
秘匿捜査指定が発令される前に、越権行為だけど、君たちには報告しておく。
It's confidential investigation information, but I'm going to overstep my authority and share it with you anyway.
たった今、変死体が発見された。
A dead body was just discovered.
町へと続く舗装道路の一角だ。
Along the corner of the paved road leading into town. Huh? I felt all the blood in my body drain out in an instant and a chill coursed through my back. Rika-chan had predicted a murder just a little while ago. On the night of Watanagashi, a man will be killed in an inexplicable way, and a woman's burned corpse will be discovered in the mountains of a neighboring prefecture. And the man's name was... Say it along with me, kids! Rika-chan's face turned pale and her lips trembled as she tightened her grip on the receiver. I decided to grab the phone on Rika-chan's behalf and mustered the willpower to ask Kasuka-san for more information.
その死体はどんな殺され方ですか？
Do you know how the victim was killed?
死因は
What was the cause of death?
死因は外傷性ショック死。
The cause of death is traumatic shock.
喉をガリガリとかきむしってそこからの出血多量で絶命している。
The victim scratched at his throat and suffered heavy bleeding as a result.
死後硬直の調査はまだこれからだが、おそらく殺されてまだ間もないだろう。
The autopsy is still pending, but likely hasn't been long since his death.
それで
Then, my throat was frozen. My voice began to tremble. Calm down, calm down, calm down.
殺されたのは誰ですか？
So, who was the victim? Rika-chan gasped right beside me. She closed her eyes and put her hands together like she was praying for a miracle while frantically waiting for his answer.
被害者の名前は
Victim's name is... Cold sweat dribbled down my back. It was only for a few seconds. But for us, it felt like it went on for hours.
北条哲平。
Teppei Hojo. I suddenly lost all sensation in my arms. Rika-chan collapsed to the ground the moment she heard that name.
リカちゃん
Rika-chan! Huh? I rushed over and held a hand out to her, but Rika-chan just shook her head and muttered, I'm alright. At any rate, it seems that Tomatake-san wasn't the victim. What a curveball! It was Teppei Hojo. What did that mean? Now, we should have seen that, obviously coming. We saw the moment where Teppei had bumped into Takano, which seemed to be a bit different, you know, leading up to this. Whatever. But what did that mean?
赤坂さん
Kasuka-san. So, what about Tomatake? I was about to ask that, but Rika-chan held up her little hand to stop me. I turned to face her. Rika-chan silently pointed at her ear. Maybe she's worried the phone is wiretapped. I tensed up. From now on, a single misspoken statement could prove fatal. The battle has already begun.
ところでケイチ君、
By the way, Ketchikun. Suddenly, Kasuka-san began to speak up in a tone that unraveled the tension.
そろそろ宿に戻らないといけないんだけど、最後にさとこちゃんの様子を見てから帰ろうと思う。
It's about time for me to head back to the inn, but I'm gonna check on Satoko-chan once more beforehand.
彼女の具合はどうかな？
Have you heard anything more about her? Huh?
あいや
Oh, no. Wouldn't it be better to check with the clinic directly instead of asking us about that? I was about to say that, but I swallowed my words because I realized that Kasuka-san was trying to convey some other message.
実は着替えてから診療所に行こうと思って今から向かうところなんですよ。
Well, actually, I was planning on heading to the clinic after getting changed, and I'm about to head out.
もしよかったらついでにご挨拶させてもらえませんか？
If you'd like, we could meet up once more.
ああ、それはぜひとも。
Sure, by all means.
電話でさよならよりも会ってちゃんと話しておきたいからね。
Then, rather than say my goodbyes over the phone, I'll wait until I can speak to you directly.
じゃあ、待ってるから。
Alright, I'll be waiting. And after saying that, Kasuka-san hung up the phone. Just as I thought, he seemed more the type that would come here directly rather than having kids walking around at this hour of the night.
リカちゃん
Rika-chan.
赤坂さん宿に帰るんだって。
Kasuka-san says he's about to head home.
挨拶に行くだろう。
Shouldn't we go pay our respects?
言わずもがななのです。ね
That goes without saying. Me. Rika-chan had a tense look on her face as she gave me a firm nod. Then, we hopped on our bikes and headed to the Irie clinic. Kasuka-san was waiting for us near the entrance of the clinic.
悪いね。夜遅くに。
Sorry, it's awfully late to be doing this.
いえ
Don't worry about it.
ちょうど寝る前にさとこの様子を見に行こうと思ってましたから。
I wanted to check on Satoko one more time before going to bed.
それは良かった。
That's good.
ケイチ君、将来は公安なんてどうだい？
Ketchikun, have you considered a future in public security?
君ならきっと向いていると思うよ。
I think it would be a good fit for you. Kasuka-san gave me a pat on the shoulder as he said that. He was probably praising me for what I said on the phone earlier, but I would have misspoken without Rika-chan's help.
そうなのです。
That's right.
考えていることを口に出す癖が治らないうちは赤坂レベルに到達するのも難しいのですよ。
It'll be hard to reach Kasuka's level unless you can fix that habit of speaking your thoughts out loud.
なるほどね。
I see. Rika-chan and Kasuka-san were both looking at me. Seemed I spoke without even realizing it yet again. Whoops. Then we entered the clinic. The coach was then there dressed in plain clothes, and Oishi-san was there too for some reason.
おやおや
Oh my.
こんな夜更けに子供二人で出歩いてはいけませんな。
Kids shouldn't be out this late at night. I knew he was gonna laugh.
ひょっとして
No laughing matter,
人
Oishi.
の道ならぬ恋ってやつですか
Any chance the two of you are on a clandestine love affair?
なんでそうなるんですか。
Why would you even say that?
サトコのお見舞いに決まってるでしょ。
We came here to check on Satoko, alright?
僕にも選ぶ権利はあるのですよ。
Me, I have the right to choose my own partner. Rika-chan, are you trying to comfort me or knock me down? Which is it?
な確かに
Nah, of course.
ただ今晩に限っては少々自重をお願いしたいところです
I would like to request that you stay cautious, just for tonight.
何せ今宵は綿流しの晩なんですからな
Because this is the night of Watanagashi.
古出家のご当主様が若い男とお手でつないでどこかへ失踪なんてことになったらシャレにもなりませんよ
It wouldn't be good for the head of the Furude family and a young man to disappear off somewhere holding hands. Even while joking, Oishi-san was still trying to give us a careful warning. He must have just finished examining the crime scene, so there was a grim and tense look in his eyes. Then, Kasuka-san went out ahead like he was going to protect us and spoke up.
ご心配なく。私がこの後ちゃんと送りますから。
Don't worry, I'll escort them home after this.
それに、呼んだのは私ですよ。
Besides, I'm the one who called them here.
ほ
Oh?
うなんでまたこんな時間にここに
Why here at a time like this?
いえ、帰る前に挨拶だけでもと思いましてね。
Actually, I was just thinking of saying goodbye to them before heading home. The smile suddenly vanished from Akasuka-san's face as he said that, and he silently nodded his head. When Oishi-san saw that, he furrowed his brow and very quietly whispered, understood, while nodding back. Seeming to find something uncanny about that exchange, the coach awkwardly got up from his seat.
そろそろ私は戻ってもよろしいでしょうか。
Maybe it'd be best to get this over with soon?
リカさんと前原さんももう遅いですから、面会は手短にお願いしますね。
It's awfully late for Rika-san and Maibara-san to be out, so please keep this visit brief.
おやどちらに
Oh? Where are you heading?
自宅に決まっているじゃないですか。
My home, of course. Where the fuck do you think I'm going, Oishi?
もう検視に関しての協力は終わりましたので、帰って休ませていただきます。
My role in the autopsy is already over, so I'd like to head home and get some rest.
入江先生わざわざ時間外にお呼び立てして申し訳ありませんがね
Dr. Irie, I'm sorry for calling you in when you're off duty, but
少々この後もお時間を都合していただけますでしょうか
perhaps you could arrange a little more time for this.
どういうことです？
What do you mean by that?
まあ今晩の先生の行動内容とか外者との関係とか
They're
い
natural.
ろいろお聞きしておき
Always
たいと思い
butting
ま
heads,
して
these
ね
two. Well, there are quite a few things I'd like to ask you about, such as what you did tonight and your relationship with the victim.
私を疑っているんですか？
Am I a suspect? Rather than act surprised, the coach furrowed his brow and made no effort to hide his unpleasant mood. Rika-chan walked up to him in that state, then grabbed his hand and looked up at him with a smile, seemingly trying to relieve him.
入江がそんな人でないことくらい僕が一番知っているのです。
Irie, you're not that kind of person. I know that better than anyone.
だから僕たちと同じように尋問を受けましょうなのです。
So let's accept whatever questioning we need to go through.
どういうことなんですか？
What do you mean? Coach seemed puzzled as he gazed at Rika-chan, then at Oishi-san and Akasuka-san, and finally at me, studying our faces with a dubious expression. Well, we certainly are an unusual group.
とりあえず診察室に
For now, let's head to the exam room.
なあその前に赤坂さん
Oh, but before that, Akasuka-san.
よろしくお願いしますね
Please go on ahead. With a nod, Kasuga-san entered the exam room and closed the door. Then, a little while later, I could see his face through the gap in the door, giving us a thumbs up and saying, "Please come inside."
それじゃあ前原さんもリカさんも中へどうぞ。
Alright, Maibara-san, Rika-san, please go ahead.
先生もお願いしますね。
You too, doctor. Please.
大変。あなたたちは。
What? Are all of you...
とりあえず中に入ってくださいなのです。
Rika's just like, please do it. For now, let's head inside.
この先入江の力が絶対に必要なのですよ。
Irie's cooperation will be absolutely essential going forward. After saying that, Rika-chan gave the coach a push on the back while heading into the exam room. He was still reluctant, but he did follow along after that push. Gives him a hard nudge. Just cooperate. The unlit exam room was an eerie sight in the dead of the night. The smell of chemicals or some sort of medicine struck my nose. The uniquely cold and inorganic color of the linoleum floor dimly reflected the moonlight. I could see Satoko lying on the bed in the back of the room, still unconscious. We were sure she couldn't hear us, but we all gathered around the desk a short distance away, and the coach pulled out his chair to sit down just in case.
それで何から始めるんですか？
So, where should we start?
ちなみに今晩の私のアリバイは
Incidentally, my alibi for tonight...
ああ、すみませんね。
Ah, pardon me.
実はそれ一番どうでもいいことなんですよ。
That's actually not important right now. No.
は？
Huh? Nani? Oishi-san put both his hands on the coach's shoulders from behind and laughed. Then, he raised his head and nodded to Akasuka-san.
実はさっき隣の県警公安の人間から聞いた話なんですが。
Actually, I recently heard a story from public security at the prefectural police next door.
山中で焼死体が見つかったそうです。
It seemed a burned corpse was discovered in the mountains.
ドラム缶の中でガソリンで焼かれて黒焦げになった。
The body was placed in an oil drum, then covered in gasoline and burned.
若い女性のね。
And the body belonged to a young woman.
それが何か？
So, what about it?
身元はまだ確認中ですが。
We're still identifying the identity... No, we're still verifying the identity, but...
ほぼ間違いなくその被害者は高野美代です。
The victim is almost certainly Mio Takano.
まさか。
What? It can't be.
驚くのはまだ早いですよ。
It's still too early to be surprised.
ここに来るまでに宿泊先のホテルに確認したのですが、どうやら富武二郎さん、今行方不明だそうですね。
I checked at the hotel before coming here, and apparently Jiro Toмотaki-san is currently missing.
そんな。
No way.
この情報は警察内の秘匿になるでしょうが、今日中に村の上の連中やあなたのお仲間にも情報が行き渡るものかと思います。
This information is still strictly confidential within the police department, but I think the intel will be distributed to the village's leaders and your people sometime today.
お二人とも今年の綿流しのたたりを受けて殺されてしまったってね。
It'll say the two of them were killed as this year's Watanagashi curse. The coach continued to look stunned. His lips were quivered, and his eyes were open wide. It wasn't that he didn't understand what the two of them were saying, it was that he couldn't believe it.
さて、ここから先は私たちよりもリカさんからお話しいただいた方がいいですかね。
Now, at this point, maybe it'd be best to hear from Rika-san instead of from us.
どうですか、リカさん。
What do you say, Rika-san?
赤坂
Kasuka? Rika-chan glanced over at Kasuka-san like she wanted him to clarify something first. Kasuka-san gave her a slow, powerful nod to let her know it was alright.
すまない。説明が不足していたね。
Sorry, let me give a brief explanation.
私はここに来るときに5年前の話を彼にしたんだ。
I told him about when I came here 5 years ago.
それがあったからこそ、鉄平の一件、そして富武さんの失踪についての情報が迅速に入手できた。
That's why I was able to get information about Teppei's case and about Tomotake's disappearance so quickly.
信用してくれて問題ないと思う。
So I think trusting him won't be a problem.
赤坂さんからお話は伺っておりますよ。
Yeah, Kasuga-san had a lot to say about you.
まあ口頭無形というかにわかには信じがたい内容ではありましたが
Well, some of it was wild and hard to believe.
今晩の事件があった以上はどうやら信じざるを得ないようですね
But after the incident tonight, I had no choice but to believe it. No.
それに大石さんが今後協力してくれるかどうかはともかくこの人はずっとたたりにまつわる事件を追ってきた
Plus, setting the possibility of Oishi-san's cooperation aside, he's always pursued any case related to the curse.
だから彼にはできれば可能な限り話しておきたいし聞くだけの資格があると思う
So I want to tell him everything we know, and I think he's qualified to hear it.
どうだろうか
What do you say?
そうですね。
Me, that's true.
ちょうどいい機会かもしれないのです。
Maybe this is the perfect opportunity.
なんだかやばい話のようですね
No, it's a barrel of story, isn't it?
私もうここでおいとました方がよろしいでしょうか
Don't you think you'd be better off with me around?
確かに赤坂さんの話をちらっと聞いただけでも危険な匂いがプンプン漂ってきてましたからね
Just based on my brief chat with Kasuga-san, I could sense a lingering stench of danger.
多分あなたも興味を持つと思いますのです。大石。
I imagine you're interested in this as well, Oishi.
4年前の現場監督惨殺事件から続くたたりの真実知りたいとは思いませんか
Would you like to know the truth behind the curse that has continued since the dam director's murder 4 years ago? Oishi-san's expression completely changed as soon as he heard that. His mouth remained expressionless like he was trying to conceal it, but there was a sharp look in his eyes that wasn't there a moment ago. Rika-san. The coach, on the other hand, turned toward Rika-chan with a distraught look on his face. When Rika-chan saw that, she bitterly smiled and slowly shook her head.
もう黙っていても無駄なのですよ、入江。
There's no point in keeping quiet about it, Irie.
この赤坂は警視庁の公安の人間です。
Akasuga is from public security at the Metropolitan Police Department.
そしてこのひなみ沢には確かな疑いを持って派遣されてきています。
And he was dispatched here in Hinamizawa because of well-founded suspicions,
入江機関にも
including the Irie Institute. Even in the dark, I could see the coach's face turn pale as soon as he heard that.
あなたは
You!
自己紹介します
Allow me to introduce myself.
私は赤坂守
My name is Mamoru Akasuga.
警視庁公安部の資料室第7室に勤めています
I work for the 7th reference room in the Public Security Bureau of the Metropolitan Police Department.
ちなみに東京の公安部資料室は確か内調別室並みの極秘部門ですよ
And by the way, the reference rooms are classified departments with an MPD public security, just as top secret as special rooms in CIRO? CIRO?
秘密警察の批判もあるような極秘の強行捜査部隊でしたっけ
A Black Ops investigative assault team authorized to carry out judgment, like a secret police force. Isn't that right? It'd be pretty ridiculous for a secret department to have the word secret in their name. A real secret department would mislead the public with a completely innocuous name. And that goes for Akasuga-san's department as well. Even though they were named after the reference room, they weren't mere librarians managing the records in the room.
入江所長さんでしたね
Director Irie, was it?
5年ほど前私が誘拐犯たちとの乱闘で怪我をした時お世話になりました
I mean, you're dead. You took care of me after I was injured fighting the kidnappers 5 years ago.
あの時は丁寧な治療を本当にありがとうございました
I'm really thankful for the courteous treatment you gave me back then.
あの時の
Huh? Ah, from way back then.
いえ自分の仕事をしたまでですから
No, don't mention it. I was just doing my job.
そしてあなたには入江診療所の他に入江機関の所長という別の肩書きもある
And I know that you have another title outside the scope of the Irie Clinic as the director of the Irie Institute.
そうですね。
Isn't that so?
それはその
That's, well,
ご心配なく。
don't worry.
私はあなたを調査に来たのでも、捕まえに来たのでもありません。
I didn't come here to investigate or arrest you.
ただ、私はこのリカちゃんと5年前に約束したんです。
I simply made a promise to Rika-chan 5 years ago.
彼女の身が危機に陥った時は、必ず助けに行くって。
That no matter what, I'd come to her aid if she were ever in danger.
それだけのことです。信じてください。
That's all this is about, so please trust me.
危機ってどういうことですか？
Danger? What do you mean by that?
そのままの意味です。
Exactly what I said.
リカちゃんの命が狙われている。
Someone is aiming to take Rika-chan's life.
だから私は彼女を守るためにここにやってきたのです。
So I came here to protect her. Kasuga-san faintly smiled and put a hand on Rika-chan's shoulder beside him. Then, Rika-chan decided to take a step forward and a step toward the coach and speak up.
入江、妙な話をしますけど、ふざけないで聞いてほしいのです。
Irie, I know this is a strange story, but I want you to listen carefully and take it seriously.
とてもとても真剣な話なのです。
I'm being very, very sincere.
何ですか？
What is it?
まず入江、
First, Irie,
ひなみ沢症候群について、あなたの口から話してほしいのです。
I want to hear about Hinamizawa syndrome directly from your mouth.
リカさん。
Rika-san.
富武が消され、高野が姿を消しました。
Tomitake was eliminated and Takano has disappeared.
おそらくあなたが考えているよりも事態は残酷な方向へと進行していますのです。
The situation is turning in a far more cruel direction than you may have realized.
そしてこのまま放置すればおそらく、いえ、間違いなく殺されるのはあなたなのです。
And if things remain as they are, then you'll definitely be killed.
なぜ私を？
Why me?
では反対に聞きますが、もし富武が何らかの形で事件に巻き込まれいなくなったとしたら、
Let's
東
think
京は真っ先に誰を疑いますか？
let's think about it the other way around. Tomitake got caught up in this incident and disappeared. Who is the first person Tokyo would suspect?
そしてレベル5を発症して死んだ人間が地元の警察に確保されたとしたら、
And if
そ
the,
の責任は誰に行きますか？
and if the police found a corpse that succumbed to L5 symptoms, who do you think they'd pin the responsibility on? The coach seemed startled as he stared at Rika-chan, then at Akasuka-san and me standing behind her, and then, standing behind her. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. The coach seemed startled as he stared at Rika-chan, then at Akasuka-san and me standing behind her, and then at Oishi-san behind all of us. But he was further surprised to see that none of them showed any change in their expressions, so he turned back toward Rika-chan and spoke up.
まさか東京のことについてもこ
No,
の人たちは知っているんですか？
no way. All of you already know about Tokyo?
私はこれでも公安ですから。
I do work for public security after all.
東京という名称はリカちゃんから聞きましたが、存在についてはそれなりに把握していました。
The name Tokyo is something I learned from Rika-chan, but I already knew about their existence.
大石さんは私から。
I'm the one who told Oishi-san about it.
この前原君はリカちゃんから話を聞いたようですね。
And Maibara-kun seems to have heard it from Rika-chan. He's like, what? The coach drooped his shoulders with no strength left in them. While gazing at him from above, Rika-chan grasped both of his hands and spoke.
入江、
Irie,
僕は入江に死んでもらいたくないのです。
I don't want you to die.
入江はこれまで聡子のために必死に頑張ってくれていました。
You've been working so hard to help Satoko.
その感謝を忘れたことはありませんし、きっとこの先僕が成長してからも忘れるつもりはないのです。
I'll never forget how thankful I am for that. I'm certain I'll remember it long after I've grown up.
もう一度言います。
So let me say it again.
あなたはこのままだと殺されます。
If things remain as they are, you are going to be killed.
この綿流しの夜に富武と高野がいなくなり、しかも鉄平はレベル5症状を突然発症して死んだ。
Tomitake and Takano disappeared on this night of Watanagashi, and Teppei suddenly died after developing L5 symptoms.
これをあなたは本当に偶然と思っているのですか？
Do you honestly believe that's a mere coincidence?
リカさん。
Rika-san. Coach slightly raised his head to look up at Rika-chan and seemed to finally accept what she was telling him. Then, he gave her a faint smile and a vague nod, then looked at the rest of us and spoke.
わかりました。お話しします。
Very well. I'll talk.
私の話せる限りのことを。
Tell you as much as I can. The coach began to relax and spoke in a calm tone, detailing the existence of an endemic disease called Hinamizawa syndrome, and that the Irie clinic was established to study it. Then he told us about his unique role, and everything about the underlying conspiracy. Oishi-san seemed completely blown away by these stories, but Akasuka-san urged him to calm down, so he eventually listened silently. Since Akasuka-san worked for a special department in the police, he didn't seem surprised by the coach's story. He simply nodded in a way that conveyed, "I see, so that's how it is," and showed a deep level of understanding. It was very encouraging for the rest of us. But at any rate, I was surprised to hear that a plan like that was going on in this rural village. I can definitely see why Rika-chan was hesitant to tell us about it.
でもこの話が本当なら、私が調べていたものについての疑問が理解できます。
But if this is the truth, then it answers some of the questions from my investigation.
大石さん、これらの話は全てあり得る話だと思いますよ。
Oishi-san, I think all these stories are plausible.
私は何かの小説の筋書きみたいな気分ですが。
Feels like I wandered into a story from some novel.
いや、それが事実ならば。
But if it's all true, it was a completely outrageous story. Even though I declared that I believe anything Rika-chan told me, I was so surprised I couldn't even speak. Kasuka-san seemed to be in a similar position, and Oishi-san was apparently so shocked that he had to go over to the window to smoke several times just to calm himself down.
僕は高野が怪しいと思っていました。
I thought that Takano seemed suspicious,
ですが、その証拠はありません。
but I didn't have any evidence of that.
それを確かめるために富武に調査をお願いしていたところだったのです。
So in order to confirm it, I asked Tomitake to investigate.
そして彼は行方不明。
And now he's gone missing.
疑わない方が不思議ってやつですね。
At this point, it's hard not to doubt it.
それで入江、
So Irie?
僕はそのひなみ沢症候群において女王感染者というものなのですね。
I'm the queen carrier of Hinamizawa syndrome, right?
はい。
Yes.
リカさんの寄生体だけは村中の誰とも違う特別なものです。
The parasite that lives in your body is different from everyone else's.
そしてその僕が死ぬとどうなりますですか？
What happens if I die?
以前お話ししたかもしれませんが、とても大変なことになります。
Like I told you before, something terrible will happen.
いえ、正確にはとても大変なことになると思われますが正しいですね。
No. To be precise, we believe something terrible will happen.
何しろリカさんが死ぬまで検証不能なのですから。
After all, it's impossible to verify until you die. It was an inference derived from multiple example cases that closely resembled Hinamizawa syndrome, where the death of a person specified as the queen carrier triggered mass suicides and riots.
この辺は高野さんの専門だったのですが、今となっては。
That would be Takano-san's area of expertise, but now...
高野は死んでいないのです。
Takano-san isn't dead.
だからこそ知っている限りで構わないから説明してください。
So please, explain as much as you know.
え？
Huh?
一体どういうことなんです？
What on earth are you saying?
さっき高野さんの死体が発見されたと言ったばかりじゃないですか。
Didn't you tell me that Takano-san's burned corpse was found just a little while ago?
公式発表としてはということです。
That's the official story.
おそらく本人か、あるいは仲間によって偽装された可能性が高い。
But there's a high probability that she herself or one of her allies intentionally faked it.
いや、 確実でしょ
No, I'm pretty much certain of it.
偽装
Faked it?
なぜ
Why?
ついさっき聞いたばかりで言い忘れてたんですけどね。
Oh, I heard this a little while ago, but forgot to mention it.
高野美代は綿流しの祭りの今晩、屋台で目撃されています。
Eyewitnesses saw Miotsukushi at the Wadnagashi Festival food stalls this evening.
でも、お隣の県警さんの鑑識の結果だと、死後24時間以上が経過しているとのことです。
However, the neighboring prefectural police department determined from their investigation that more than 24 hours had passed since the victim's death.
赤坂さんに注意されてましたから、重々に念押ししたおかげで正確な時間が伝わりましたよ。
Thanks to Akasuka-san's warnings and careful attention to detail, we were able to determine the precise timing.
こっちから目撃情報を先に提供していたら、ヤッコさんたちは絶対に時間を調整して報告してきたでしょうな。
They received word from us about the eyewitness accounts. I'm sure those bastards would have altered the time in their reports.
それってまさか
No way. Are you telling me? The coach looked deeply surprised, but he had lost the will to doubt any of this. He had a weak expression on his face as he continued.
いずれにせよ女王感染者と呼ばれる人が発病することはこの村の死を意味します。
In any case, if the person known as the Queen Carrier falls ill, it would mean the death of the entire village.
いや、それだけじゃない。
No, not just that.
理性もなく異常行動を繰り返す人間が村外に繰り出すことを考えただけでも恐ろしいことになるでしょう。
It's terrifying to think that people would repeat these senseless, aberrant behaviors even outside the village.
それだけは何としても防がなくてはいけないと我々が存在しているんです。
We exist to prevent that at all costs.
なら話の腰を折らずに聞いて答えてくださいです。
Then please don't ask any questions and just answer.
みんなも黙って聞いていてください。
Everyone else, please keep quiet and listen too.
そんな僕を殺して誰かが何かを得するということはありますですか？
Would there be something to gain from killing me?
リカさんを殺す？
Huh? Killing you, Rika-san?
誰が？
Who would...
イリエ、話の腰を折らずに答える
Listen to what she said.
約束です。
Irie, you aren't supposed to ask any questions, remember?
すみません。
Sorry.
いえ、考えられません。
No, I can't think of anything.
あなたを殺して得をする人間など存在するわけがない。
There isn't anyone who would benefit from your death.
繰り返しになりますが、もし女王感染者に万一があれば、一般感染者は全員48時間以内に末期症状に至るんです。
I repeat, if something happens to the Queen Carrier, all infected persons will reach the terminal stage within 48 hours.
それこそが、ひなみ沢症候群の最も危険な一面と言えるでしょう。
That's what makes the syndrome so dangerous.
被害妄想の拡大や錯乱などの個人症状とは比べ物にならない規模の大事態です。
The scale of the disaster will be far greater than any individual case of paranoia or psychosis.
その大事態を起こして誰かが得をするということは
Would anyone profit from that disaster?
絶対にありえません。
No way.
リカさんを殺すということは村人 2,3 人を殺すのと全く同じことです。
Killing you is tantamount to killing all 2,000 villagers.
たとえ冗談でも絶対に考えられないことです。
Nobody would consider that for a minute, even as a joke. The coach stubbornly continued insisting on that point, and yet Takano-san is considering this plan, so why would she want to kill Rika-chan? Still, no conspiracy is without personal gain. Even if you can't understand at first glance, that's just an oversight on your part, right? Or you're just being faked out and misled. Don't give up. Think. See through our enemy's true intentions. Think. Get into the mind of Mio Takano. Behind me, Keshi was twisting his brain over and over, trying to unravel the true nature of this conspiracy. He's desperately searching for it, but it's not that simple. That's what it seems like, I guess. Still, he seemed to have no intention of doubting me, which was the major hurdle, and for that, I'm glad. At any rate, the problem is Takano.
私が死ねばひなみ沢の人たち全員が被害妄想に取りつかれて錯乱し
If I die,
あるいは殺し
If I die, all the residents of Hinamizawa will go insane and may even kill each other.
鬼の血を引く末裔たちの村の終焉としてはこれ以上ないフィナーレね。
What a perfect ending for people who are descended from demons, huh? In the end, does Takano simply want to enact the curse to sate her own wicked desires? Since she always talks about dangerous and bizarre things, it's obvious she enjoys cruelty. She always talks about how she wants to witness with her own eyes the raw brutality of the man-eating demon she read about in the dark history of Onikafuji Village. The words are going off the screen again. It's possible that she wants me dead just so all the villagers will develop terminal symptoms. It's not completely out of the question.
もちろんそれが想定される最悪の事態です。
Of course, that's in the worst case.
ですので、もしも万一リカさんが死ぬようなことがあった場合、ある緊急措置が取られることになっています。
So if something happens to you, there's an emergency measure we're supposed to follow.
緊急措置
Emergency measures?
初耳ね。
That's the first I've heard of this.
多分初めてお話しすると思います。
I've never told you this before.
物騒な話でしたので、私も話したくなかった。
It's rather an unpleasant measure, so that's why I never mentioned it.
入江機関にとってひなみ沢症候群治療の中での最優先事項は女王感染者の保護です。
The Irie Institute's top priority is protecting the Queen Carrier.
ですが万一女王感染者が死亡し、感染者全員の急性発症が見込まれた場合、それを未然に防ぐ緊急措置が取られることになっています。
But if you die and all infected persons develop terminal symptoms, we're supposed to go ahead with this contingency plan. That's understandable. If all 2,000 villagers were to go insane, there'd be no guarantee that the devastation would remain within the village. Obviously, it's a good idea to be prepared for the worst case scenario.
非常時用の緊急マニュアルというものが存在しまして、その中で最も危険度の高い事態。
There are these things called emergency manuals, and among them, the one for the worst possible disaster.
つまり、リカさんが死んだ場合に適用されるものが緊急マニュアル第34号というものです。
In other words, in the event of your death, is called Emergency Manual 34.
それが適用されると何か起こるの？
What happens with that?
具体的には自衛隊の緊急時専門の部隊がひなみ沢を封鎖して、
To be exact, a special unit from the Self-Defense Force will seal off Hinamizawa, and then... Irie bit his lip like he couldn't put into words what came next. In other words, they need to take action before the villagers go insane and destroy all traces of the truth. I only wish I were joking.
それも初耳ね。
I've never heard of that before either.
すみませんでした。
Sorry.
私もあまり好きな話ではなかったもので。
I don't really like talking about it. Understandable. I've been interested in things that happen before I die, but not in things that happen after I'm dead. This disaster only takes place after I die. I had no idea that something like this occurs every single time, or rather, I'm the cause. If the enemy is capable of erasing an entire village, then killing a little girl like me won't be a problem at all. Can we really stand against an enemy like that? Anyway, the existence of this emergency manual changes everything. Takano's motive no longer makes sense. I thought her goal was for all the villagers to go mad and slaughter each other like demons. But according to what Irie said, that wouldn't even happen. The villagers will all be killed before it does. I'm not Takano, so I can't be sure, but I don't think that would be fun for her. It doesn't make sense for to kill me for that purpose, especially since we've known each other for such a long time.
高野と山犬が私を殺すというのはあり得ること。
Do you think it's possible for Takano and the mountain dogs to kill me?
バカな。
Don't be stupid.
絶対にありえないことです。
That's just impossible.
いや、それどころか、高野さんはリカさんの保護に一番気を使っていますし、山犬の最大の任務の一つはあなたの護衛です。
Takano-san's number one priority is to protect you, and one of the mountain dog's main duties is to watch over you.
そんなことは絶対にありえない。
That's simply unthinkable.
イリエ、
Irie?
それでもなお高野が私を殺すとしたらどんな動機が考えられる？
Even so, supposing Takano wanted to kill me, can you think of a motive for her doing so?
考えられません。
No, I can't.
女王感染者の危険性について一番知っているのが彼女なんですから。
She knows better than anybody about the dangers of the Queen Carrier.
それにご存知でしょ。
Besides, as you're well aware,
彼女はひなみ沢症候群の研究に並外れた情熱を注いでいます。
she's very passionate about our research into the syndrome.
あなたを殺してしまうことはその情熱と矛盾する行為です。
Killing you would put an end to that source of her passion. Irie continued to deny it and defend Takano. That's because he's seen Takano's passionate research up close and believes in it. Or rather, he wants to believe in it.
でもイリエ
But, Irie,
前に一度言っていましたね。
you told me once before.
ひなみ沢症候群は確か3年以内で撲滅する計画になっていると。
Hinamizawa syndrome is supposed to be eradicated within 3 years.
撲滅というのは症候群を滅ぼしてしまうこと。
In other words, you're going to destroy the disease.
研究を続けたい彼女の情熱にとって
What does
それはどうなの？
What does Takano think about that?
それは
Well,
私にとってひなみ沢症候群は治療すべき対象ですが、高野さんにとっては研究素材なんです。
Hinamizawa syndrome is the target of treatment for me, but for Takano-san, it's research material.
実際彼女は3カ年計画には強く反対していて、研究の無期延長について理事会に進言するため単身上京したとまで聞いています。
Actually, she's strongly against the plan to eradicate it within 3 years, and she has even made a trip to Tokyo to request an indefinite extension of the project from the board of directors.
もっともそれは失敗に終わったそうですが。
She wasn't successful though.
つまり高野はもっと研究を続けたいのにひなみ沢症候群は3年以内に撲滅してしまい高野は研究対象を失ってしまう。
So what you're saying is that Takano wants to continue her research, but Hinamizawa syndrome is going to be eradicated within 3 years, so Takano is going to lose the subject of her research, isn't she?
そういう言い方もできるかもしれません。
I guess you can say that. I think I see something here. The Irie Institute isn't a small organization. It's being managed by a lot of people and it receives a great deal of funding. That's the only way they can even research the syndrome. So if the Irie Institute is planning to put an end to the research within 3 years, there really isn't much Takano can do about it.
どうせ終わらせられてしまう研究なら最後に盛大にひっくり返してやりたいと。
If it's all going to end anyway, then maybe she wants to shake things up.
バカな。
No way!
そんなことあってはならないことです。
Something like that can't possibly happen.
でもイリエも高野の性分は知っているでしょ。
But you know how she is, right?
あいつならやりかねない。あいつなら私を殺しかねないって。
She would do
あるんじ
it.
ゃない。
She would do it. She would kill me if she wanted to, don't you think?
ありえない。
No way.
ありえません。
No way.
そんな恐ろしいことは絶対に。
Something as horrible as that just isn't possible. I feel like I'm starting to see Takano's motive, but seems like there must be more. After all, the project will continue for at least 3 additional years. It's possible that during those 3 years, Takano's request will be approved, and the research will get an extension. In other words, the research is guaranteed to continue for a minimum of 3 more years. Given those 3 years, why is she so desperate now? Besides, I'm always killed in June 1983. The date may change a bit, but the month won't. That must be the result of her strong willpower. It would be one thing if the research was being terminated immediately. She still has 3 years, yet she's already getting desperate. Her motive is too weak. She must be possessed of the strong conviction that it has to be June 1983.
どう思うかしら、ケイチ。
What do you think, Keiichi?
どうしてこの時期に高野は実行しようと考えたのかしら。
Why would Takano decide to take action at this specific time?
あ、そうか。
Oh, I see. Suddenly, Keiichi clapped his hands together, and he seemed to have a flash of something because the grin on his face suggested he had put everything together.
関係ない話だけどさ、
This is an unrelated topic, but
リカちゃん、以前言ってたよな。
Rika-chan, you told me about it before.
昭和58年の6月、決まった時、 自分は死ぬ。
You said it was predetermined that you'd die in June of 1983.
だからどんなことも楽しめないって。
And that's why you can't enjoy anything.
それと同じ理由ってことは考えられないか？
Don't you think the same reasoning applies?
だから何？
Then what are you saying? It was frustrating. Kechi of this world was rather smart, but he had a pompous way of speaking.
3日後に死ぬ。
You'll die in 3 days.
3年後に死ぬ。
You'll die in 3 years.
期間で言えば大違いだけど、どちらも死ぬというゴールが決められている。
The length of time is quite different, but the end result of dying is the same.
しかも自分じゃない誰かの意志によってな。
And what's more, it's happening by someone else's will.
それって結局聞いた本人にとって衝撃は同じようなもんじゃないのか？
In which case, don't you think a person would be equally shocked regardless of which date they hear? Huh?
なるほど。
I see.
患者が衝撃を受けるのは病気で死に直面した時よりもそれを告げられた時だと何かの本で読んだことがあります。
I read in a book that patients are more shocked when they first hear that they're going to die than they are when sick and facing imminent death.
それに死刑囚が最も取り乱すのは刑が確定した時。
And death row inmates are most upset the moment they first hear their sentence.
そう考えると納得できない話ではありません。
Considering that, it's not an unreasonable idea. Right. That's right. I was a blind spot. If I just put myself in her position, it's simple and so easy to understand. When I thought about how I was doomed to die in 1983, I almost despaired in everything. Fortunately, I had Hanyu, and nowadays I have Kechi and the others, but if I had to face that knowledge alone, I wouldn't even be able to pretend to spend my days calmly. So, Takano's feeling the same way?
そんなお二人ともこじつけが過ぎます。
No way. Two of you are getting carried away.
高野さんはそんなに短慮な人ではありませんよ。
Takano-san is not that quick-tempered.
だいたいそんなバカな計画を実行してどんな得が？
And how does such a ridiculous plan benefit anyone?
爆弾を自宅で爆発させるようなものじゃありませんか。
It's like setting off a bomb in your own home.
権力闘争。
A power struggle. When Oishi suddenly muttered that, we all turned around in response, and he laughed to hide his embarrassment.
ああ。いやね。
Right. Oh dear.
東京って組織がどんなところか知りませんけど、もし勢力が二分されてて反対派ってのがいたらの話ですよ。
I don't know what this Tokyo organization is like, but there might be two factions in opposition with one another.
その連中はこのプロジェクトが失敗すればきっと喜ぶんだろうなと思いましてね。
And if so, I figure one of them would be pleased this project ended in failure.
ひょっとして爆弾を仕掛けてきたのってひなみ沢とか入江先生たちの研究を快く思わない連中じゃないんですか？
It's like setting up a bomb for someone displeased with Hinamizawa or Dr. Irie's research, isn't it?
そんな人は組織には？
A person like that in our organization? Irie tried to deny it, but on the other hand, he seemed to consider something and shut his mouth to think it over. In fact, the reasoning for deciding to shut down the research project within 3 years was likely because some force within the organization was opposed or displeased with the project.
結構近いですよ、それ。
That's actually rather close to the truth.
あ、現実はもっと露骨で醜悪ですけどね。
Although the reality is more hideous and brazen. Perhaps seeing that Irie's answers were a dead end, Kasuga finally ceased silently listening to the conversation and stepped in front of me so he could stand before Irie. Then he revealed a story which even we didn't know.
入江機関のクライアントのアルファベット。これ、わかりますよね。
The Irie Institute's client is the Alphabet Project. I assume you're already aware of this.
つい最近まで私の第7室は巨額の裏金ルートとそれを牛耳る黒幕たちを内定していました。
Until recently, the 7th reference room has been monitoring huge amounts of money flowing in, and the mastermind is behind it.
アルファベットプロジェクトとはその裏金ルートのうちの一つです。
The Alphabet Project is one of those off-the-books slush fund management organizations. Government funds are provided to finance certain projects, but the reality of the situation is that it's being done to fatten the wallets of a few specific people. These people insist that they can revitalize Japan with these slush funds for secret off-the-books projects, but that was a deception even in their own ranks. The masterminds controlling the project must have a huge financial investment in it, and uncovering that could shift the very center of Japanese politics, so Akasuka's organization was receiving strong pressure to halt their investigation.
ただ、最初にお断りしておきますが、第7室のこの調査はすでに中断され、私たちはその任務を解かれています。
But let me point out that the 7th reference room's investigation was officially suspended when we were relieved of our duties.
ですので、私は業務上知り得たことを勝手に口外しているに過ぎません。
With that in mind, I'm merely making casual conversation about work-related topics.
もちろん、私はひなみ沢へはこのことを黙殺する条件付きで名目上休暇として訪れています。
And of course, I'm visiting Hinamizawa on a nominal personal vacation, so I intend to keep quiet.
そこだけ誤解がないようにお願いいたします。
I hope there's no misunderstanding there. Irie remained silent and didn't relax his sullen expression. It seemed like now that we knew the name of the Alphabet Project, he'd accepted that he couldn't talk his way out of this.
その裏金ルートから毎年巨額の裏金が入江機関という下根市内にある研究機関に流れ込んでいることがすでに分かっています。
I already know that a huge amount of undisclosed dirty money is flowing into the Irie Institute of Shishibone City every year.
そして入江機関という機関名には括弧書きで入江診療所との補記までされています。
And the name Irie Institute is written in parentheses with the name Irie Clinic annotated next to it.
そして入江機関トップは自衛隊から出向している二等陸佐入江京介氏とも。
And at the head of the Irie Institute is a lieutenant colonel from the Self-Defense Force, Mr. Kyusuke Irie.
違います。
No, you're wrong.
私は自衛隊なんかではありません。
I'm not with the SDF.
もうお話ししますが、私たちのクライアントはともかく、私たちは別にやましいことをしているつもりはないんです。
I've already told you, aside from the identity of our client, there's nothing shady about what we're doing here.
これだけは本当なんです。
That's the truth.
信じてください。
Please believe me.
入江の言う通りなのです。
It's as Irie says.
入江は騙してまでお金を受け取ったりはしないのですよ。
Irie doesn't cheat anyone out of the money.
分かっています。
I'm aware of that.
で、これが入江機関名義の裏金の流れ着き先。
But the Irie Institute is named as the recipient of the secret funds.
探すのは結構骨が折れましたが、
It took a lot of effort to investigate this.
この名前に見覚えがありませんか？
You remember these names, don't you?
これは
They're...
高野さんが接触したアルファベットプロジェクト継続派の東京の幹部たち。
the executives in the Alphabet Project Continuation Group, whom Takano-san was in contact with.
予想通りですね。
As I expected.
アルファベットプロジェクトの再編は不採算部門のリストラと方向性の見直しなんかじゃない。
So reorganization of the Alphabet Project doesn't mean reviewing their forward plans or restructuring unprofitable departments.
より狡猾に、そして効率よく上層部の特定人物へ金が流れるように体制が組み替えられただけ。
It's just that the system was restructured so that money can flow more efficiently to specific people in the upper ranks.
何のことはない。継続派も反対派も発想は同じなんですよ。
And the idea is the same, whether they're for or opposed to these projects.
そんなバカな。
That's absurd.
そしておそらく富武次郎はこれを発見した。
And Jiro Tomotake most likely discovered this
そして消された。
and was consequently eliminated.
まだ死んだと決まったわけではないのです。
We don't know for sure that he's dead. When Akasuka heard me mutter that, he lowered his head to apologize for speculating too far. Then he put his notebook back into his breast pocket and turned toward Irie, who was looking defeated.
このことを知れば、ただでさえプロジェクト停止で落ち込んでいた高野美代はどう思うか。
What do you think of the idea that Mio Takano was depressed simply because she learned the project was being halted?
そして継続派を組織から排除し、 自分たちが後釜につこうと考えている奴らが彼女を焚きつければどうなるか。
And what do you think would happen to her if the opposition faction agitated her by replacing all the project supporters in the organization?
それはご想像にお任せします。
I'll leave it to you to imagine.
ただ認めたくない現実から目をそらし続けても時間は確実に進んでいく。
But even if you continue looking away from reality and refuse to admit it, time will keep moving forward without you.
そのことだけは決して忘れないでください。
Please, never forget that.
それに
And also,
み
me. Kasuga gave me a gentle pat on the head as he continued.
私はリカちゃんを信頼して彼女に手を貸そうと思った。
I trust Rika-chan, and I've decided to help her.
ここにいる前原君もね。
Myra-kun feels the same way.
そのリカちゃんと前原君があなたを助けたいと思って必死になっている。
Rika-chan and Myra-kun are here, desperately trying to help you.
あなたがそれを軽んじるような人でないことを
I hope you're not the...
それだけを願っていますよ。
I hope you're not the sort of person to ignore that.
分かっています。
Yes, I understand.
それだけは
At least that much.
よく。
Irie managed to mutter just that, then hung his head. He may have been too shocked to understand everything, but considering that Takano and the others had already launched their operation, we couldn't hesitate any longer.
それから大石さん。
Also, Oishi-san?
はい、
Yes?
何でしょうか。
What is it?
これからの話は警察の手に余るどころかとんでもない領域に入ろうとしています。
At this point, the story is going to go beyond the hands of the police and enter an outrageous area.
それにどうも関わる山が大きすぎる気がします。
Besides, I have a feeling that this thing is a lot bigger than we think.
大石さん、冷たい言い方をしますがあなたはここで引かれた方がいいかもしれません。
Oishi-san, I don't mean to sound rude, but maybe you should stay out of this.
赤坂さん、それはどういう意味ですか。
Akasuka-san, what do you mean by that?
先ほども言われました通り大石さんは今年で定年じゃないですか。
Just like you told me earlier, you're retiring this year, right?
長かった危険なお仕事がようやく終わりそ
Oh,
の
the
ねぎらいとして
pension.
退職金を得られる直前にいる。
You've worked hard for many years. You're about to collect your pension.
お金は大事です。
Money is important.
家のローンの完済や老後の蓄えそして第二の人生の支度金
You'll need to pay off your house, and you need money for life after retirement.
ですが今回の山は危険すぎる。
But this hill's too dangerous to climb.
私の勘から言ってこの山は多分最後にはなかったことにされる。
My instincts are telling me that at the end of it, this case will be classified, as if it didn't take place at all. Hello.
つまり
In other words,
全てを失う覚悟がなきゃ今からでも遅くないから引き返せって。
unless I'm prepared to lose everything, I'd better pull myself out of this, right?
そうおっしゃるでしょう。
That's what you're telling me, isn't it?
そうです。
Yes.
大石さんほどの方にこんなことを言うのは若輩の身には過ぎたことと分かっています。
Man, looking out for his pal Oishi. I know I'm not in a position to tell you that.
ですが私は今日まで一般警察とは次元の違う山にいくつも関わってきました。
But I've been involved in cases that are much different from regular police work.
だからその経験の上で大石さんにご忠告させていただいてるんです。
So, what I'm saying now comes from experience. Oishi was no fool. He was also an adult and smart in a real sense. If he only listened to his pride, he would yell at Akasuka for insulting him. But what Akasuka is saying is true. Oishi's pension is a big deal for him. People live far beyond their retirement. They still have 10 or even 20 years left after that. Their pension is the basis for that second life. A pension isn't ordinary money. It's very, very valuable. People receive their pension for working hard on rainy days and windy days and even enduring the moments when their bosses give them a hard time. Even Oishi has mumbled on occasion that he's going to quit and look for a new job. Yet he endured and quietly did the unreasonable work asked of him. He's endured far more work than his salary merited. He's worked like that for a very long time, and now he's finally able to retire. He's finally about to collect his long-awaited pension. It's not about the money. It's not about the amount of money itself. It's about having a value placed on what you've done with your life. So if one were to cause a scandal, punishment for that would be placed on his pension. One such deplorable event can erase Oishi's entire life as a policeman. That's not something that can be treated lightly. Kasuga is still young. Even if he loses a job, he will be able to find a new one. Now, this is a whole aspect that we dealt with during the original base main story. It was a point brought up where it's like, Oishi, we don't want you to, you're, especially because early on in the main 8 chapters, right? Early on, it was like, oh, Oishi just wants to figure and solve out this case because he has the tie to the case. And then he's like, I just really, this is going to be the last thing I solve, and then I'm going to retire, and life will be great. And then later on, you learn a little more that, like, oh, people are looking out for him in a way because it's like, you're old. You're going to retire. You need your pension funds so that you can, have the life you need as a retiree kind of thing. And then it kind of, during the main 8 chapters, right, it was a whole big thing about, like, oh, will he or won't he? Will he back off? Will he actually, like, take the guidance and be like, I'm not going to, push to try to solve this case that clearly means so much to him to solve, right? It's kind of weighing the whole, like, the two hands thing, like, okay, this case that he's, like, dead set on solving versus making sure that he's set for the rest of his life once he's done and actually retires. I don't think I talked about it a ton, but during the main story, like, even though it's kind of, like, basic, I kind of like that whole... It's, like, probably my favorite aspect of Oishi as a character, and maybe, like, the most humanizing aspect to him, where it's like, oh, like, it's the one thing where it's like, oh, here's, like, the real conflict, like, inner conflict for Oishi as, like, a character, other than just being this sometimes antagonistic and gruff foil to some of our more normal protagonists, right? That's not something that can be treated lightly. Kasuga is still young. Oh, we already heard that, yeah. But Oishi is too old. The repayment of his mortgage was planned around his pension. Oishi is a grown-up's grown-up, and that's why he can't do anything reckless. A grown-up's grown-up. Kasuga knows that, and that's why he said that Oishi should back down. Oishi understands it too. So, Kasuga had to ask him that tough question in order to find out how strong Oishi's commitment was.
私がお小遣いを残したいばかりにずいぶんのんびりしたローン返済をしちゃいましてね。
I've been awfully slow paying back my loan, all because I wanted to hold on to some spending money.
もっと繰り上げ償還とかしてりゃ利子の分得をできただろうに。
Even though I would have saved on interest if I just paid a bit more earlier on.
博打やらお酒やら。
But
そんなものに使うお金が残したくてね。
But I just wanted to gamble and drink.
もし私がツケを退職金に回すような人生を選ばず、もっともっと賢く生きてきたなら。
If I lived my life so I didn't have to depend on my pension in my old age.
ここで私はかっこよく、懲戒なんか怖くないって意気込むところなんでしょう。
I could jump right onto this case. Oishi's fists were trembling. That's how he sheds his tears.
でもね。
But-
それでもね。
But
私は刑事なんですよ。今の今まで。そして退職の瞬間までね。
I'm an officer until the moment I retire.
いや、そんなのはもうどうでもいいのかもしれない。
No, even that doesn't matter.
私は墓前で誓ったんですよ。おやっさんを殺した犯人を必ず挙げてやるって。
I promised in front of his grave. I promised that old man that I'd find out who killed him.
それつまり、おやっさんを殺した犯人を挙げるまで、私はいつまでも刑事でいるって誓いなんです。
I promised to stay a police officer until I arrest his murderer.
それつまり、私が警官かどうかってことじゃない。
In other words, me being a police officer isn't the issue here.
私が仇を取るその日まで、たとえ懲戒を食らったって、 刑事魂を忘れないっていうことなんです。
What matters is that I keep my officer's spirit until I find that murderer, even if I'm fired.
その私が懲戒免職が怖いって。
But am I afraid to be fired?
退職金が不意になるかもしれないのが怖いって。
Am I afraid to lose my pension?
ああ、怖いですよ。
Yes, I am.
何千万って金が入ることを当てにした人生設計が全部パーになるんですよ。
It'll ruin my plans for the future. I need a lot of money for them.
北海道でのんびり家庭菜園を楽しんで、すすきので遊んで社交ダンスを始めて。
My dream is to live a leisurely life in Hokkaido, work on a vegetable garden, have fun in Susukino, and take up ballroom dancing lessons.
それがパーになるのの何が怖いってんですかね。
But why am I afraid?
私の刑事魂はそんなもんだったんですかね。
Is my officer's spirit so weak as all that?
ひなみ沢村連続開始事件の真相を暴く。
I've dreamt of uncovering the truth behind the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa.
夢にまで願った真相の扉が今ここにあるってのに。
And the door to that truth I've sought for so long is right here in front of me, but...
くそー！くそー！
Damn it! God damn it!
警察手帳を叩きつけりゃいい。
Why can't I just throw away my badge?
警察なんていつでもやめてやるってなんで言えないんだ。
Why can't I just say I'll resign?
くそーくそーくそー。
Damn it! Damn it! God damn it! Nobody could say anything in response to Ishii. He's at a crossroads. Crossroads with a person who has worked so hard and so humbly for so long. How could the young people, who knew nothing about what he's had to go through, say anything at all?
大石さんは確か殺された現場監督さんのご友人でいらっしゃいましたね。
You are a friend of the departed construction site manager, right?
ね
Yes.
え、友人であり、兄貴であり、親父でした。
He was a friend, a brother, and a father to me.
私は形式だけとはいえ、入江機関の長です。
Although it's only a formality, I am the director of the Irie Institute.
多分、リカさんをめぐる陰謀が暴かれれば、必ず私にも飛び火し、何らかの形で責任を取らされる日が来るでしょう。
If the conspiracy that surrounds Rika-san is exposed, I'll be the one who takes that blame. His position exists for exactly that purpose. To the Institute as a whole, Irie is there simply to cover for Takano's research. Even Irie has started to realize it. Even if Irie hadn't done anything wrong, he would have to take the blame as the person in charge of the Institute. That was how every organization purged itself, by forcing someone to take the blame and reshuffling members. That's why leaders get more money.
すべてが終わったら、大石さんにひなみ沢村連続開始事件のすべてをお話しします。
When it's all over, I'll tell you everything about the series of mysterious deaths.
本当は終身の秘匿義務があるんですが、もういいでしょう。
I actually have an obligation to remain silent for the rest of my life, but I've had enough of that.
いやいや、そういうわけにはいきません。
No, that's not right.
でだ、皆さんに協力した勇気ある大石クラウドに教えてやってください。
You can tell the brave Kurado Oishi about it, the one who found the courage to help you.
退職金が欲しくて、保身に走るみっともない大石クラウドには過ぎたもんです。
The cowardly Kurado Oishi, the one who didn't want to lose his pension, doesn't deserve to hear the truth. He faced a dilemma. Even though the truth behind the mysterious deaths he sought so hard was right in front of him, he couldn't just accept it with his head held high. To understand what he's going through, one would have to live the life he did. His dilemma is very vast and very heavy. Young people couldn't possibly understand.
考える時間をもらうことはできませんかね。
Can I have some time to think about this?
真相を暴き、悪を打ちたい気持ちはあるんです。
I really do want to find the truth and put evil behind bars.
そのために勇気を持つ時間をもう少しだけもらうことはできませんかね。
I just need some time to gather my courage. Could you grant me that? Why is he even asking? Nobody here has a claim to force him to make up his mind. Of course, I don't either. However, Oishi needs someone's approval. Oishi's still passionate about his work as a police officer, yet he isn't brave enough to take on this case. He wants somebody to forgive him for that. But nobody can do that. Nobody can stop Oishi from crying.
大石
Oishi.
僕がお社様に代わって許してあげるのです。
On behalf of Oyashiro-sama, I will permit it. Huh? Oishi turned his way, this way, looking completely bewildered. However, I continued without hesitation.
あなたが決心するのに必要な時間を僕は許します。
I'll grant you some time to make your decision.
あなたは今日まで自分に素直であり、そして厳しくもありながら今日までの人生を積み重ねてきました。
You have been honest, and you've been tough on yourself until today.
そんな決して軽くない人生だからこそ、決断を求められる時にもその選択肢は重みを得るのです。
Your life is not to be taken lightly, and that's why you're having such a hard time deciding.
軽々しい選択や万有は決して誇らしいものではない。
One should never be proud of careless decisions or brute courage.
真に誇るべきなのは、あなたのような真に重い人生を歩んできた者が本当に重い選択をした時なのです。
A careful judgment made by a person who has lived a worthy life like you. That's what's worth being proud of. It may seem arrogant of me to say, but right now, I think that is exactly what Oishi needed to hear. Right. Who among us had the right to admonish Oishi, the eldest one here? No one. No one should be able to. Then, isn't it arrogant of someone in my position to talk to him like this?
あなたが冷静で落ち着きある選択をしようとも、勇敢で男らしい選択をしようとも、
No matter if you decide calmly or courageously,
私はあなたを称えましょう。
I will praise you.
それがあなたの悩み抜いた選択である限り。
As long as your decision was made well.
ありがとう。
Thank you.
なぜか一番嬉しかった言葉です。
That makes me feel better.
臆病な私に時間を許してくれてありがとう。
Thank you for giving a coward like me the time of day. If I had called out to Oishi in my usual voice, would he have agreed to be my ally? Would he have helped me? Maybe I should have said something else. But that wouldn't have reached his heart. Wanting help is my selfish request. Any words that disregard the life he lived wouldn't reach him. I'm sure I was able to say that because of Keiichi, because I was able to see Hanyu again. Even though Hanyu never said it directly, she'd witnessed all that long, hard, and painful but fun days in Oishi's life up until today. So, I can say it, I'm sure. Hanyu alone could forgive him, so I said it on her behalf.
Irie 先生、
Dr. Irie,
たった一つだけでいいんです。
there's only one thing.
教えてください。
Please, tell me one thing.
ええ、
Sure?
何でも聞いてください。
Ask me anything.
私は
AMA.
おやすさんをバラバラにして殺した連中を裏で糸を引いていたのは園崎家だと信じて追ってきました。
I'm the head of the Irie Institute, and my world has just been rocked by some information revealed to me by a tiny child. AMA. I've long suspected that the Sonozaki family was pulling the strings in the old man's murder case.
それは正解ですかね。
Am I right to think that?
いいえ、不正解です。
No, you are not. You're wrong.
ひなみ沢村連続開始事件は全ては私たち側から説明できることです。
We can explain everything about the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa.
そう
I
で
see.
すか。
I see. Oishi pretended to scratch his head. For so long he pursued the case with that belief, yet someone deeply involved was telling him he'd missed the mark. So he must be feeling at least some frustration. What Irie said wouldn't be enough, so I have to continue.
大石、お社様のたたりと呼ばれる事件はどれもこの村のいかなる人物の暗躍によるものではありません。
Oishi, none of the curses of Oishiro-sama were done in secret by the villagers.
園崎家も御三家も、そして村人も一切が関係ないのです。
The Sonozaki family, the three families, and the other villagers, none of them are involved. There are only misunderstandings, misinterpretations, coincidences, Tragedies and comedies. The real identity of the curse of Oshiro-sama is simply a series of misinterpretations. Only it looks like the villagers are acting in secret.
それじゃあ私が今日まで集めてきた園崎家が裏でどうこうってな
So, all the information I've gathered so far about the Sonozaki family
全部ガセだったって
is...
そういうことですかね
is worthless? Also, gotta be a bit of a gut punch to him. We've seen this kind of moment pop up previously in the story, but like, he's like, damn, I was chasing the wrong people in the wrong tail the whole time, like this whole time that I was so dead set on and like dedicated a chunk of my life to. It's like, fuck.
園崎家当主にはいかなる天才も全て自らの差し金であるように振る舞うべしという秘密の家訓がありますです。
Like, it's presented as like a moment where it's supposed to be a relief to him, but it's also, on the other hand, very much like a moment where he's just like, shit. Fuck. The heads of the Sonozaki family have a secret precept. They must always act as if they command even natural disasters.
園崎家は何も知らない。
The Sonozaki family knows nothing.
いや、それどころか毎年起こる事件に怯えてすらいる。
Moreover, they're even afraid of the incidents that occur every year.
でも、それを家の威厳に組み込むため、黒幕を装っているだけなのです。
But in order to maintain their dignity, they act as though they're the ones behind everything.
そんな家訓があるんですか
Oh my goodness.
なるほど納得です
I see. It all makes sense now. Oh, I'm laughing to cover up the cries.
それが本当なら俺のばあさんめくそ思わせぶりなことばっかり言いやがるな
If that's true, then that Oryu woman... Damn it. She sure said some things to mislead me. Oh, oh, now I'm laughing to cover up how mad I am. Oh,
それ本当なんですよね
you're telling me the truth, aren't you?
本当なのですよ。
Yes, I am.
古出家当主の秘密巻物にも書いてありますです。
It's written in the Furude family's secret scrolls too.
見ますですか？
Do you want to see? Oh, oh, secret scrolls. Now, I have no idea what Oishi thinks is so funny. Nobody here can tell what's going through Oishi's mind. I think he's losing it. However,
大石が嬉しい気持ち、僕にはわかりますです。
I can understand why you're so happy.
おや何がわかるって言うんですか
What? What do you mean?
僕も初めの頃、園崎家を疑っていました。
In the beginning, I suspected the Sonozaki family too.
でも、それが間違いと分かったとき、とてもほっとして嬉しかったのです。
But when I realized my mistake, I was so happy and felt so relieved.
憎む人がいなくなるというのは、とてもとても幸せで、気持ちいいことだって分かりますから。
The object of your hatred was erased, so I understand just how happy you must feel.
まさかまさか
Oh no.
園崎家が獅子骨市内を牛耳るたちの悪い暴力団組織であることに変わりはありません
The Sonozaki family still is a vile Yakuza organization with its claws all over Shishibone City. That doesn't change.
連中のとこのチンピラに刺されたこともありますからね
I've been stabbed by one of them before, you know?
別に開始事件の黒幕でないと分かったからといって私にとって敵対的な存在であることが変わるわけではありません
They may not be responsible for the mysterious deaths, but they are still my enemies.
まあそれだけのことなんですがなぜか愉快になっちゃいましてね
That's all still true, but I just feel happy. No. We don't know if this is right or not. because Oishi believed the Sonozaki family was behind it all. Now that he's learned that they're not, I'm sure he feels like everything he stands for has been made meaningless. But it's painful to keep on hating people. I searched for something in Oishi's self-deprecating laugh and tried to imagine it. Oishi left with a cigarette in his mouth, saying that he wanted to cool off a little.
そろそろ時間もない。
We're running out of time.
今後どうするか、それだけを考えよう。
We need to think about our next move.
はっきりしているのは高野の意図だけです。
The only thing that's clear is Takano's intention.
おそらく僕を拘束して綿流しのたたりの生贄とするつもりなのです。
She's probably going to restrain me, then sacrifice me to the curse of Watanagashi.
時期はわかりませんが、もう間もなくそれを実行に移してくるはずでしょう。
I don't know when it's going to happen, but she should be putting her plan into action soon.
それを逃れるためには。
So, in order to escape that,
分かってる。
I know.
リカちゃんを守ることが俺たちの果たすべき最低の義務。
Protecting you is our highest priority.
どんな手を使ってでも攻撃させるわけにはいかない。
No matter what it takes, we need to block Takano's attack.
相手の動きがはっきりとするまで下手に出歩かず一番安全なところに避難すべきだろう。
You should stay hidden in a safe location until we fully understand our enemy's tactics.
そんな好条件の場所はあるでしょうか。
Is there a place like that?
リカちゃん、
Rika-chan,
そろそろミオンたちに打ち明ける時が来たんじゃないか。
don't you think it's time we tell Mion and the others?
身を隠すためにはみんなの力がきっと役に立つと思うぞ。
I think everyone's cooperation will help a lot in keeping you hidden. Even before Kechi spoke up, I was thinking the same thing. But even so, I was still anxious.
でもみんな信じてくれますでしょうか。
But do you think everyone will believe me?
実際に今晩犠牲者と行方不明になっている人がいる。
Truth is, there are victims and missing people as of tonight.
こうなればさすがに事態の危険性を理解してもらえるだろう。
That should help them recognize the danger of the situation.
それにみんなリカちゃんの予知のおかげで最悪の未来を回避することができたんだ。
Plus, everyone is able to avoid a terrible future thanks to your predictions.
きっと今度はリカちゃんの力になってもらえるさ。
I'm certain they'll help you this time, Rika-chan. Kechi's words gave me the resolve to make up my
わ
mind.
かりましたのです。
Understood.
それに園崎本家の地下西宮殿は立てこもるにはとても理想的な場所だったはずなのです。
Plus, the ritual storeroom in the basement of the Sonozaki main house would make an ideal hideout. Kechi gave me a firm nod as soon as he heard that. It might be difficult to manage on my own, but I've got Kechi backing me up. Thinking that made me feel a bit more comfortable.
ところで、さとこちゃんはどうしますか？
By the way, what should we do about Satoko-chan? As he said that, Irie turned toward Satoko sleeping in the bed behind him. If I were to disappear and leave Satoko behind, naturally they'd target her in order to find out my whereabouts. It'd be risky if we woke her up now, but we can't leave her here. After all, this clinic is practically the enemy's home base.
里子、移動させなくてはいけないのです。
We'll have to move Satoko.
入江、今里子はどんな状況ですか？
Irie, how is Satoko doing at the moment?
それが、
Well... Irie seemed like he was carefully choosing his words since it was something hard to say, but he eventually arrived at something and gave me a vague answer.
いいとは言えないんですが、悪いとも言えない。
I can't say the situation is good, but I can't say it's bad either.
正直、よくわからない状況なんです。
To be honest, I'm not completely sure.
どういうこと？
What do you mean?
脳波が入り乱れて、時折複雑な動きをします。
Her EEG readings look disorderly from time to time, moving in complex ways.
おそらく夢を見ているんでしょうが、
She's probably dreaming.
その度に苦しんだり、泣いたり、うめいたりして、
And every time it happens, she's suffering, crying, growing in pain.
それって
Groaning, not growing in pain.
まさか
Do you think that means she's...
しかし、不思議なことに、その夢見が終わった後は、決まって穏やかな寝顔になるんです。
But, oddly enough, after the dream is over, she always reverts to a calm sleeping expression.
ただその感覚も、徐々に周期が縮まっています。
And yet, the length of that cycle is gradually shrinking.
これが何を意味するのか、全く想像ができない。
I can't imagine what that might mean.
里子、
Satoko.
可能であれば、ゴムラの医療施設に移したいと思っています。
If possible, I'd like to have her moved to a medical facility in Gogura.
あそこなら、 私の子飼いのスタッフも多いので安心できると思うんですが。
There are a lot of my subordinates there, so I think you can rest assured she'll be safe.
山犬が高野の手の内にある以上、極楽も完全には信用できないのです。
Since the mountain dogs are under Takano's control, we can't completely trust the people in Gogura.
赤坂、何かいい方法はないでしょうか。
Kasuga, can you think of anything that would work?
入江所長、里子ちゃんの最低限の生命維持にはどれくらいの医療機材が必要となってくるのですか？
Director Irie, what is the minimum amount of equipment necessary to provide Satoko-chan the life support she needs?
現時点では日常使用しているワクチンが最低限、そして脳波と脈拍を計測する機器があれば理想的です。
At the moment, the bare minimum is to provide her daily vaccine dosage and ideally also the equipment to measure her pulse and EEG readings.
ただ電源等も含めて蛍光及び仮設置は一般家庭の部屋でも可能ですので、一時的に場所を移転するのであれば問題はないかと思います。
But if we transport the necessary equipment along with the power supply, it should be possible to set everything up in a standard household room, so I think there would be no problem moving the entire setup temporarily.
だとしたら決まりだ。
Then it's settled.
サトコもミオンのその地下細工殿に搬送して、二人でそこに立てこもったらいいんじゃないか。
We'll move Satoko to Mion's basement too. Wouldn't it be nice for the two of you to stay together?
そうですよね、監督。
What do you say, Coach?
医師としてはあまり歓迎したくない事態ですが、状況が状況です。
As a doctor, I can't say I'm thrilled with this idea, but it is what it is.
致し方ないでしょう。
There's no other way.
ただそうなれば同じ意味でサトシ君も運び出す必要があります。
In which case, we'll have to move Satoshi-kun the same way.
え？
Huh? Kechi was stunned with his eyes open wide. Oh no, I haven't told Kechi about this yet.
サトシって
Satoshi?
サトコの兄の王女サトシか？
You mean Satoko's older brother, Satoshi Hojo?
じゃあサトシってこ
So,
の診療所にいたのか？
so Satoshi is here in the clinic?
え？
Yes.
リカさん？
Rika-san?
ごめんなさいなのです。
I'm sorry.
まだ圭一たちにはサトシのことを話していなかったのですよ。
I still haven't told Kechi and the others about Satoshi.
そうですか。
Is that so? Irie was clutching at his head for accidentally letting that slip, but what has been said can't be taken back. Irie turned toward Kechi, who was still looking bewildered, and continued his explanation.
今話した通り、この診療所には北条サトシ君がいます。
As I said, Satoshi Hojo is here in this clinic.
訳あって周囲から隔離していましたが、彼もひなみ沢症候群の重度患者、そして
There's
被験者なんです。
a reason for isolating him from his surroundings, though. He's a patient and a test subject with a severe case of Hinamizawa syndrome. Fua, ha fua. A yawn snuck out as I let out a sigh. Not much time had passed, but after such a long night I was feeling exhausted and wanted to sleep like a log as soon as possible. But that's not an option. Kasuga is investigating the relationship between this Tokyo organization and the people supporting Takano-san. And now, I have my own major task of asking Mion and the others to cooperate with us on this.
おいミオン。
Hey, Mion!
あ、何ケイちゃん、なんか用？
What's up, Ki-chan? Need something?
いや、用っていうか、
No, I don't really need anything.
これからみんなでサトコのお見舞いに行かないか？
Would you like to check up on Satoko with everyone else?
みんな？
With everyone?
いや、いいけど、ケイちゃんはお疲れでしょ？
Well, sure, but aren't you tired, Ki-chan?
今日は私たちが行っておくから、ケイちゃんは帰って休んだ方がいいんじゃない？
We're planning to visit later today, so shouldn't you go home and get some rest?
レナもそう思うな。
Yeah, Rina was thinking the same thing.
別に毎日お見舞いしなくてもサトコちゃんは怒ったりしないよ。
Satoko-chan won't be upset with us if we don't visit her every day. I felt the concern behind what both of them were saying. Thankful for it, but that's not what's important right now. We really need to get going.
ああ、大丈夫だ。
Yeah, I'm fine.
今日サトコが目を覚ましていたら後で言われそうだしな。
If Satoko wakes up today, she'll tease me about it later.
まあそう言うなら
Well, if you say so.
それじゃ揃って昨日の報告会と行くか。
Alright then, why don't we deliver a report on yesterday's events?
お土産持参でね。
I even brought her a souvenir.
おう
Yeah!
楽し
Yeah!
そうだね。
Ah, that sounds fun!
私リアカーと一緒でもいいかな。
Oh, maybe it would go with what I've got in my hand cart.
ゴミ山でね、
Hand
さ
cart.
とこちゃんが前から欲しいって言ってた可愛いもの見つけたんだ。
I found something cute in the garbage heap that Satoko-chan said she wanted a while back. How?
だからって診療所に持っていくのはな。
Still, I don't think you should be bringing that to the clinic.
それにそれ祭りのお土産じゃないでしょ。
Plus, that's not even a festival souvenir, right?
でも一日でも早くそばに置いてあげたいんだもん。
But, I want to put it by her side as soon as possible. Rina was shouting, how, while dancing and spinning around. It was just like usual, so I decided to leave her be for the time being.
そういやシオンはどうした？
Oh, by the way, where's Shion?
昨日の晩はうち泊まるって言ってたんだけど。
Yesterday evening she said she was going to stay at my place.
なんか朝起きたらいなくなってたんだよね。
But when I got up in the morning, she was gone.
それに
Also,
それに？
also.
あ、いやなんでもない。
Oh, it's nothing.
気のせいかもしれないしさ。
Probably just my imagination.
しーちゃんのことだからきっと診療所だよ。
I'm sure Shi-chan is already at the clinic.
行けば会えると思うな。
I think we'll run into her if we go there. Go there?
そうだな。
I see.
よし。それじゃあとりあえず。
Alright.
出発！
Alright then, let's head out. Yeah! Yeah! On the road again. On my way. On my way. The 3 p.m. chime of the wall clock in the clinic resonated throughout the office. All the staff pitched in to help out yesterday, so they were given time off this afternoon as a special courtesy. But the truth is, they were all sent to help the mountain dogs investigate Tomotake's disappearance and Takano's death. He carried Rika to the exam room next door so that she could rest there. He thought she headed home with Keshi and the others last night, so he was surprised to see her here in the afternoon, but thinking it over, her injury still hadn't fully healed, and she had to be exhausted from her dance last night. Given the circumstances, it's not strange at all for her to be sleepy. In fact, despite how shaken up they were last night, he hadn't noticed. And thanks to that, it wasn't properly reported to the mountain dogs.
それにしても
Anyway, honestly, he was uncertain. What should he do now? He had been prepared ever since the announcement that his research would end in 3 years, but after speaking with Rika and the others last night, the entire project could be cancelled immediately depending on Takano's plans. And if that happens, then what will become of Satoshi and Satoko?
どうしてこんなことになってしまったんだろ
Why did this have to happen? He had been pouring his heart into Inamazawa syndrome research since the inception of the Alphabet Project. He was working hard and was even willing to put his life on the line in order to eradicate the terrible symptoms of this endemic disease. But the fact is, the project saw a study as just a cover to illegally send and pool higher up shady funding.
そうか
That's it. Mio Takano felt the same way. She took over her grandfather Professor Takano's research and became the leading advocate for the project. That's why she had such tremendous motivation and enthusiasm for the research, that the disadvantages of gender and background, the head of this research team wouldn't be him, it'd be Takano herself. And as a result, she had an unfriendly attitude toward him when they first met. It felt strange at first, but after Tomotake explained it to him, he started thinking it was only natural. So he tried to respect her position as much as possible and began thinking it would be okay to stand in her shadows. And given that, it was easy to imagine how shocked she'd be to hear the announcement. I originally decided to become a doctor because of my parents' illness, and I endeavored to research and treat incurable diseases. I always wanted to be able to eliminate at least one of them, but eventually, those feelings faded with time and experience, and I just continued aimlessly devoting myself to my research, like a student focused on their assignments. At first, I saw Inamazawa syndrome as just an assignment, so my research didn't come from humanitarian reasons. It was from a curiosity and a spirit of inquiry. Plus, honestly, I confess it was to earn some fame. Seeing me work with that callous attitude must have seemed unforgivable for Takano. But it's not like that anymore. Or to be more precise, my attitude changed some time ago. Ever since I met the girl who's continuing to fight her illness, who is sleeping in this very clinic. Intercom chime coming from the direction of the entrance let me know that someone had entered the clinic. Normally, they'd head to the reception desk, but I was handling things directly at the moment since today was declared a holiday as of this afternoon. The fact that they came here despite the holiday meant it was probably Rika and the others coming to check on Satoko.
Hi. Moshi.
Yes? Hello?
あ、監督、シオンです。
Oh, Coach, it's me, Shion. When I grabbed the intercom and held it to my ear, sure enough, it was Shion.
先に来ちゃいました。
I came early.
入れてもらえませんか？
Do you mind if I come in?
いいですよ。ちょっと待っていてくださいね。
Sure. Please hold on a second. When I opened the door, Shion was standing there with a stuffed animal.
おや？それは
Oh, what's that?
サトコへのプレゼントです。
It's a present for Satoko.
昨日、屋台パーラーの特別手当にもらったんですよ。
I got it as a special bonus for my performance at yesterday's festival stall.
可愛らしいですね。
How lovely.
きっと起きたら、さとこちゃんも喜びますよ。
I'm sure Satoko-chan will be thrilled when she wakes up.
サトコはどうです？
How is Satoko?
大丈夫です。
She's doing alright.
薬が効いてよく眠っていますが、心配ありませんよ。
She's sleeping well thanks to the medicine, so there's nothing to worry about.
なら、好都合ですね。
Then that's convenient. Huh? Huh? I heard a sound like bursting gunpowder come from behind as the medicine rack in front of me shattered with a flashy sound. When I turned around in a panic, I saw Shion coldly glaring this way, standing there holding a pistol that she must have been hiding inside the stuffed animal. God damn it! I was like gonna say like, oh, she's got a weapon. I was gonna say like a stun gun underneath it or something, like she was concealing that.
聞きたいことがあります。
No, boy. There's something I need to ask you.
サトシ君はどこ？
Where is Satoshi-kun? Damn. Damn. Crazy. But maybe not that crazy? But crazy. Lost item. Lost item. Boom.
お疲れさん。みんな祭りの大仕事の翌日にすまんの。
Yeah, thanks for all your hard work. Sorry about a big chore. This is the day of the festival.
いやいや、これくらいはへえともないわい。ここはわしらの守り神様のお住まいじゃからの。ちゃんときれいに吐き清めていかんとバチ当たるってもんじゃ。
No, no, it's no problem at all. It's the homework guardian god. We'll be punished if we don't sweep it up and straighten it out.
それに昨日のリカちゃまの演舞を見ちょったら元気づけられての。いよいよこの神社もわしらの手で守っていかねばならんちゅう気になったわ。
I'm fired up from watching Rika-chama's performance yesterday. We've always wanted to protect the shrine with our own hands, and this is finally a chance to do it.
確かにそうじゃな。にしてもリカちゃま大丈夫かいの。あの後熱出して今も寝込んでおるんじゃろ。
It's certainly true. Anyways, is Rika-chama doing okay? Still resting because of her fever, right?
なーに、入江先生が一日休めば大丈夫って言ってくれたんじゃ。心配はいらん。
What?
それじゃあみんなご苦労じゃが祭りの前以上にきれいにするつもりで一応頼むわ。
What? There's no need to worry. Dr. Irie says she'll be fine after a day of rest. Alright, everyone, let's make this place look even cleaner than it was before the festival.
お、任せたらんね。
Yeah, leave to us.
おや？これなんじゃね？
Huh? What's this?
どうしたシーナのじいさま。なんか見つかったのかい？
What is it, old man Sheena? Did you find something?
いやー、 この祠の陰にこんなものが隠れておったわ。えらく重いカバンじゃが、何入っとるんじゃ。
Well, there's something tucked behind this small shrine. Heavy bag. What's inside?
おや、こりゃ結構な代物じゃぞ。なくした人きっと困っとるんじゃないかの。
Oh? Wow, that looks pretty important. Whoever lost it must be really upset, huh? Lost item. I think we can read, maybe like another hour or so. We got this. It began from a simple desire to cause some mischief.
あれ？
Huh? When I visited the clinic with a present for Satoko, I figured the entrance would be locked, so I went around the back. The truth is, the lock on the window in Satoko's exam room is broken, so it'll open if you just put some pressure between the narrow gap. I noticed it while visiting the clinic a while ago. I felt a little awkward about quietly sneaking in, of course, but I wanted to put this cute stuffed animal on Satoko's bedside as soon as possible. That desire completely overrode morals and common sense. Right. At the time, I was feeling weirdly overexcited. I'm sure that there was a lingering effect from all the fun I had with everyone at the festival. In that state, I suddenly looked ahead, and I could see Oishi lurking in the dark, dimly lit by the glow of his cigarette.
なんで大石が？
What is Oishi doing here? Considering the special circumstances of the night of Watnagashi, there was a chance he was out patrolling the village. But he wouldn't be able to see much in this darkness, so that didn't seem to be the case. Somehow his short and stout stature seemed to lack its usual strength and spirit.
それはいいか。
Oh well, guess it doesn't matter. I kept my footsteps quiet as I went around the back of the clinic. Sure enough, the window of her room was slightly ajar, so it would open up easily with a light push. I gently sat the stuffed animal down, then quickly put my hands on the windowsill.
ただそうなれば同じ意味でサトシ君を運び出す必要があります。
So she just overheard their conversation, and now she's like going to the extreme with it. Guess maybe not surprising. As a doctor, I can't say I'm thrilled with the idea, but it is what it is. Huh? There's somebody inside. Before I could even process it, the impact of hearing someone's voice was so overwhelming that my whole body froze over. That voice, that's definitely the coach. Then, what's he doing here at this hour?
サトコの兄の王女サトシか？
You mean Satoko's older brother, Satoshi Hojo?
じゃあサトシって
So
この診
Satoshi
療所にいたのか？
is here in this clinic?
ええ
Yes.
リカさん
Rika-san.
ごめんなさいなのです。
I'm sorry.
まだ圭一たちにはサトシのことを話していなかったのですよ。
I still haven't told Kechi and the others about Satoshi.
そうですか。
Is that so? I heard it. It wasn't just the coach. Kichan and Rika-chama were inside having a conversation with him. I could clearly hear the coach let out a sigh. Then, I'm not mistaken about what I heard just now.
生きてるという表現が正しいかどうかは分かりません。
I don't know if it would be proper to say he's alive, but
ただサトシ君の存在は私たちの研究活動において大変重要な役割を担ってくれています。
Satoshi-kun's presence has played a crucial role in our research activities.
そのおかげでサトコちゃんが救われたと言っても過言ではない。
It's no exaggeration to say that he's the reason we were able to help Satoko-chan. Coach, what do you mean? Why can't you say that Satoshi-kun is alive? Then, no way.
かつてのひなみ沢ではね、研究と称して人体を用いた実験が行われていたそうよ。
In the old days of Inamazawa, it seems they used humans as test subjects for their research.
バラバラに解剖して、その細胞内に含まれているいろいろな成分を調べるサンプルとして扱われていたらしいわね。
They were dissected into pieces to investigate the various components contained in their bodies.
時々出る行方不明者の中には、その実験に送られた人もいたみたいよ。
Among the people who went missing from time to time, it seems some were used for these experiments. That can't be. Then Satoshi-kun was taken away for these experiments? Please, someone tell me it's not true. And to make it even worse, someone as kind and gentle as the coach is involved? Ah, I see. That's how it is. The coach must have had his eyes on Satoshi-kun like that from the start. Getting closer and pretending to be sympathetic in order to use him as a test subject. Satoshi-kun was having a rough time with the villagers. Such a lonely, painful, pathetic state. Anyone would open up to someone speaking kindly to them. Then, Curse presented an ideal opportunity to take him away. And then, they used him. Right. That's right. So obvious. Even if Satoshi-kun disappears, nobody will be concerned about it. In fact, there are plenty of people who would be pleased to see him go. And, Rika-chan, even though you knew where Satoshi-kun was all this time, you've been pretending you weren't aware of it? Then, does that mean Mion knew too? Oh no, she's spiraling. She's spiraling! It can't be. And then, Satoko is next. It's possible. Come to think of it, it's strange that she's been hospitalized here all this time, even though she just fainted. I'm sure they're using a lot of medicine to keep her asleep. No way. Are they planning to use Satoko for this evening's Nagashi sacrifice? I won't allow it. I won't let them do it. I couldn't protect Satoshi-kun back then. I wasn't paying enough attention, didn't put in enough effort. But this time, it's different. I'll protect her, no matter what, because I made a promise to Satoshi-kun.
Satoko no koto, tanonda yo.
I'll leave Satoko to you. Yeah, I understand, Satoshi-kun. You trusted me to take care of Satoko, so I'll protect her. I won't let that hypocritical mad scientist take her away. So just watch. Satoshi-kun! Action hero time. Then, I snuck into Mion's room in the Sonozaki main house. Naturally, Mion was already in bed. She seemed awake enough to notice me, but she evidently remembered we promised to spend the night together, so she just stirred slightly and then fell right back asleep. While being careful not to make a sound, I found the modified model gun that Mion always carries around sitting in her desk. Carefully pulled out the drawer to grab the ammo for it. She's been carrying it around less often since she met Ketchi, but it has more than enough stopping power that the police would be concerned if it were actually loaded. After checking the safety, I slipped it into my back pocket, then quietly snuck out of Mion's room. I'll ask you one more time. Where is Satoshi-kun? Irie gulped down his saliva while looking at the dangerous expression on Shion's face. The scent of gunpowder drifted from the muzzle of the gun pointed right at him. He was less afraid of that shining black weapon than he was worried about the fierce look in Shion's eyes. No way. Was Shion displaying heightened Hinamizawa syndrome symptoms?
Shion-san, doko de sono hanashi o?
Shion-san, where did you hear that? Uh-oh. Another gunshot roared out, and the window behind him shattered, sending glass shards flying. Shion's expression didn't change at all. There was no hint of hesitation in her eyes. I asked first. Answer me before asking questions of your own. Where? Where is Satoshi-kun? Well... Let me just say, you're making a big mistake if you think I won't shoot. I won't hesitate to fire right through your forehead if you're not going to tell me, so keep that in mind. And then I'll just search the place on my own. Shion coolly made that declaration. As if to corroborate her words, the muzzle pointing towards Irie's face slowly moved to point toward his chest. If you're planning to shoot an enemy, the chest is the easiest target to aim for, especially if your aim isn't to kill in a single blow. For now, would you raise both your hands to demonstrate your understanding? And then put your hands behind your head? Shion was dead serious, so Irie raised his hands as ordered without saying anything unnecessary. Shion-san. No further explanation is required. Don't say anything unless explicitly asked to.
サトシ君のいる場所に案内してください。
Now please, lead me to wherever Satoshi-kun is. Oh boy. Xiao moved behind Irie and placed the tip of the gun against his back. Then she prodded him and took a step to coax him forward.
あ、そうそう。
Oh, that's right.
警備システムは切っておいてくださいね。
Please shut off the security system.
あるんでしょここ。
You have one here, don't you?
わかりました。
Very well. They exited the exam room and headed to the door at the end of the hallway. And when the door swung open, there was a set of stairs leading to the second floor. However, Irie stepped in the other direction and moved the cardboard boxes stacked behind the stairs. Then, she could see the stairs leading down to the basement.
この下にサトシ君が。
Satoshi-kun is down there?
そうです。
That's right.
シオンさん、あなたに黙っていたことはどんなに詫びても足りない。それはよくわかっているつもりです。
Shion-san, I realize that no amount of apology will ever make up for keeping this from you.
でも正直これ以上先に進むことはあなたにとってプラスになるとは思えない。
But to be perfectly honest, I don't think it'll benefit you to go any farther.
だから
So,
次行ったら撃ちますよ、本当に。
if you say another word, I'll shoot. I mean it. Shion had a cold-blooded look on her face as she clicked the hammer of the gun with her thumb. Her index finger was still on the trigger, and the muzzle was still pressed against Irie's back. If Shion got just the tiniest bit upset and put a little strength into her finger, it would literally open a hole in Irie's torso. And even if he died, it wouldn't stop Shion from advancing forward. But it wasn't a joyous reunion waiting for her up ahead. It was a worst-case scenario.
降ります。
We're heading down.
足元に気をつけてください。
Please watch your step. Looking down over Irie's shoulder, she could vaguely see the door leading to the basement level. Shion warily kept an eye on Irie as she watched her feet, heading down the stairs. The sound of the footsteps echoed all around, and as they approached the door, the air that had been silent up until then began to tremble with the sound of some sort of mechanical device. Fear and anxiety gradually bubbled up from the depths of her heart, and in order to cover that up, Shion subconsciously focused her hatred and bloodlust toward Irie. Irie opened the door, then Shion nudged him forward. She was slightly shocked when she stepped aside and took a look around. It was even larger than the ground floor, and there were many rooms arranged on both sides of the central corridor. The interior was vaguely lit by a dim security light. After stepping inside, she was able to clearly hear the electronic sounds, presumably coming from medical equipment. It was less like a hospital, and more like a morgue. Satoshi-kun. She clenched her jaw so tight it seemed like her teeth would shatter. Satoshi-kun was trapped in a place like this. In this cold, dark, gloomy place, where you could only hear unpleasant mechanical sounds. It's unforgivable, 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 unforgivable.
こんなフロアを作っていたなんてね。
So, you had another floor built down here.
ますますうさんくさいですよね、この診療所。
This clinic is looking more and more dubious. Xiao made a light jest, but Irie remained silent, perhaps still complying with her earlier order. That simple, earnest behavior made her click her tongue in frustration, and she couldn't help but feel an irritating itch on her neck and her wrists. When she looked up, Irie was looking back over his shoulder, and their eyes met. Ah, those eyes are so obnoxious. It was like he was pitying, patronizing, insulting, and sneering at her all at the same time. She wasn't sure how many times she wanted to shoot him. Still, killing Irie here would make it that much harder to locate Satoshi. Even though she said she'd just search alone, walking around a place she knew nothing about seemed risky. Eventually, Irie came to a stop in front of a door at the end of the hallway, and then he slowly looked back towards Shion.
この中です。
In here. Oh boy. Oh man. She couldn't help it. Shion shoved Irie aside, then jumped toward the glass window on the door and focused on what was inside. Inside was a bed, where Satoshi was sleeping, with an IV drip attached to his arm. A device for measuring brainwaves was attached to his forehead and chest, and waves of light were being drawn on the monitor. At the very least, that was proof he was still alive. She was prepared. When she heard Irie say he wasn't sure if he could be described as alive or dead, She prepared herself for a worst-case scenario, seeing Satoshi set up like a human anatomy dummy in a science classroom. But Satoshi was right there, just like he was before. She was so glad to see it, but that was the only thought bringing her relief at the moment. Satoshi-kun. Satoshi-kun! But he was probably in a very deep sleep. Considering how pale his face looked, it would have been hard to say he was alive without being told so. He's alive, right? Satoshi-kun is still alive, right? Well? Answer me! Before long, she realized shouting was useless, so Shion tried to get inside by wildly turning the knob. But she noticed the keycard reader attached to the wall beside the door, and turned and pointed her gun at Irie once again. Hurry up! Open it! Open it already!
Shion-san, お願いです。
Shion-san, please.
撃っても構わない。
I don't even care if you shoot me.
一つだけどうしても約束してほしいことがあります。
But there's one thing I want you to promise me. At this late in the game, Irie started pushing demands on Shion. His roundabout way of speaking had put a look of rage in her eyes.
この扉は絶対に開けないでください。
Please, never open this door.
決して起こそうとしてはいけません。
Don't try to wake him up.
いいですね。絶対約束してください。
Do you understand? I want you to promise me.
どうして
Why?
どうして起こしちゃいけないんですか
Why can't I wake him up? That was the first thing Shion wanted to do. She wanted to tell him personally that he was free, but Irie was telling her that she couldn't do that.
サトシ君は病気なんです。
Satoshi-kun is sick.
それも完治が現時点では望めないほどの。
And at present, a complete cure isn't something we can hope for. Huh?
ここまで来てそんなざれ言
You're giving me that nonsense even after we've come all the way here?
さっさと開けないと撃つって何度も言わせるな
How many times do I have to say this? I'll shoot if you don't open it immediately.
本当です。
It's true.
これだけは信じてください。
Please believe that.
あなたの気持ちはよくわかる。でもこの部屋に入って彼と会えば、きっとあなたは後悔する。
I completely understand how you feel, but if you enter this room and meet him, I'm sure you'll regret it. A gunshot roared out, and Irie collapsed on the spot. His right arm was now spilling fresh blood, oof, staining his white coat in deep red.
次は足ですか
Next might be your leg,
それとも肩
or maybe your shoulder.
払ってのも一つの選択肢ですね
The stomach is always option.
さ
It is
あ
always option.
早く開けなさい
Now, open it already.
それともこの扉の前にあなたの腹に風穴を開けたいのですか
Or would you rather open a hole? Or would you rather I open a hole in your belly right here? Ha 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 ha.
シオンさん。
Shion-san,
見るな
don't look at me.
そんな顔で私を見るな
Don't look at me with that face.
イライラする
It's so annoying.
さあ
Come on.
さっさと開けろっていうのが聞こえないのか
Didn't you hear me? I said hurry up and open.
撃ちたければ撃て。
If you want to shoot me, just shoot.
私にはそれだけの罪があるし、あなたにもその資格がある。
I've committed enough sins that you'd be more than justified.
だが、この扉は絶対に開けるな。
But you mustn't open this door.
これ以上の悲劇を、私は医者の誇りにかけても守らなければいけないんだ。
On my honor as a doctor, I won't allow any more tragedies. What? Upon seeing Irie desperately howl in a way she'd never seen before, Shion began trembling and pulled the trigger without thinking. Oh man, she wasn't aiming at anything in particular, but it bounced off the floor and cut Irie's cheek. Dang. But boing! A line of red blood came trailing down, but Irie didn't show any hesitation. He clung to his shoulder and stood up with an agonized look on his face, then turned toward Shion, who was still holding the gun.
辛いことですが、真実だけを手短に話します。
I know it's hard. I'm going to tell you the truth quickly.
サトシ君は1年前、度重なるストレスから脳と心に深刻なダメージを受けました。
Satoshi-kun suffered serious emotional damage due to the repeated stress he endured a year ago.
幸いなことに命に異常はありませんが、 今のサトシ君には目に入るものの敵味方、真実と虚実の区別がつかないんです。
Fortunately, he's alive, but he can't tell his friends from his enemies or truth from fiction.
それってどういう
Then, what does that mean?
すべてのものを悪意に捉え、過度の被害妄想と恐怖に取りつかれ、それから逃れるために目の前にいるのが誰であろうと襲いかかります。
Everything he experiences is interpreted maliciously. He's suffering from a serious delusion of persecution and fear. To escape from that, he would attack anyone.
昨年、不用心なスタッフが整形手術を必要とするほどの大怪我をしました。
In fact, one of the clinic staff was seriously injured last year, so much that she had to go through facial reconstruction surgery. Holy shit.
彼はたとえあなたであっても
It's like
恋
back
愛としません。
it's like back when that monkey attacked like a person, remember that? When someone had to get like a new face and it was like a whole big story. That was like years and years ago. Terrible. He would even attack you. Shion finally noticed it. While Satoshi was covered in a blanket on the bed, there were 2 belts over that blanket, holding him down on the bed. And that he also had leather straps around his arms. He was restrained to the bed. The belts had some marks on them. But...
そんなそれって治るの
Is he ever going to get better? The silence that followed was cruel. Irie wanted to tell her that he would be cured, but he was a doctor. He knew he shouldn't say anything irresponsible, so that was why he couldn't say anything.
何それ
What is it?
何それ
What the heck is it?
じゃあ何
Are you saying...
サトシ君はもう無って言ってくれないの
Satoshi-kun will never say anything anymore?
私の頭を撫でてくれないの
It'll never rub my head? Ever again?
なんで
Why?
なんで
Why? Shion cried as she pounded on the glass.
いけません。
Stop.
彼のことを本当に大切に思うなら
If you really care about him,
どうか彼を起こさないでください。
please don't wake him up.
それはきっと彼が望むことでもあるんです。
That's what he wants, too.
起こせばそのサトシ君の姿はあなたを必ず傷つけます。
If you wake him up, he will likely hurt you.
そしてサトシ君もその姿をあなたに見せたいとは思わないはずです。
He doesn't want you to see him like that either.
ですから分かってください。
So please, try to understand.
そんな
Why? Shion slid down the window and hit the floor, crying uncontrollably. She scratched the floor. Sad reunion and her anger made her claw at the tiles. If Satoshi's smile was there under the floor, Shion would scratch until all of her nails were gone. But Satoshi wasn't under the floor. He was right there. He was sleeping on the bed, and he wasn't supposed to be woken up.
なんで
Why? And then, Shion's sadness transformed into anger and hatred, and she once again pointed her pistol at Irie.
なんで言ってくれなかったのです
Why didn't you tell me?
なんでサトシ君がいなくなった時にそのこと
When Satoshi-kun disappeared, why did you hide it?
どんなにサトシ君が変わってもおかしくなってももう話すことができなくなっても
It doesn't matter how much Satoshi-kun changed, or if he went crazy, or even if he's no longer able to speak.
サトシ君が生きていると知っていれば安心できた悲しくなかった希望を信じられた
If I knew that Satoshi-kun was alive, I'd feel relieved, not sad. I believed there was still hope. And yet, why? Irie remained standing still, looking despondent, and he seemed repentant because he didn't look scared and wasn't making any effort to escape. How do you think Satoko and I felt having to wait? How long our hearts were crushed? And how much misery Satoko had to endure? You were close to her. You should have seen it better than anyone. And yet, you've been lying to us all this time. If I had told you, what do you think would happen? Irie already had a look of determination on his face. If I had told you, I'm certain you'd want to see him. And when you met, you'd want to touch him. You'd want to talk. It wouldn't make you happy. It would only bring you more pain. Don't try to trick me. That's just your own thoughtless assumption. I won't deny that. I underestimated his illness myself. I thought I'd be able to cure him relatively quickly, so I was planning to tell you the truth after his condition improved. If the two of you are going to meet, I wanted both of you to be in good health. But Satoshi-kun's self-awareness never returned, and in the end I lost my chance to tell you. You're just making excuses. You were enjoying it. Seeing us crying, grieving, and suffering, and all the while you were pretending to be sympathetic for your own amusement. That wasn't my intent. Still, it was my own stupidity that brought you where you are today. Thinking that, I hate myself enough to want to die. I see. Then in that case, Shion's hand trembled as she aimed the pistol. Her patience was already at its limit. You can rest easy, because I'll kill you. For the harm you've done to Satoshi-kun. For what you've done to Satoko and me. But before that, can you answer me one thing? Yes. That machine. What is it for? What are you doing to Satoshi-kun's body? In order to identify treatment for the pathogens. We're conducting research, creating chemical reagents from the virus that infected Satoshi-kun. You're doing that to Satoshi-kun? Overcome with fury, Shion put strength into her trigger finger. But that moment... Shi-chan? Rina to the rescue? Damn. Crazy. When we entered the exam room, the stuffed animal and shattered glass lying on the floor made it clear something unusual was going on. Oh. What on earth happened here? Where's Coach? Keiichi! While Mion was standing around looking flustered, Rika-chan suddenly lit up and rushed past her to check on the bed. Despite the disheveled state of the room, Satoko was still sleeping there with a gentle look on her face. Seeing that allowed us to heave a heavy sigh of relief. Sachiko, it's alright.
でも監督は
But what about the coach?
明らかに銃だよこれ
This is clearly the handiwork of a gun.
しかも
And Mion's face looked extremely pale as she picked up the stuffed animal that was lying on the floor.
これシオンがサトコに渡すんだって言ってたやつだ
This is the gift Shion told me she was going to give Satoko.
じゃあシオンもここに
Then, does that mean Shion's here too?
考えている時間はないよケイチ君
We don't have time to think it over, Kichikun.
二人を探さなきゃ
We have to find them. Noise. It was a miracle that we were able to arrive here. The door leading to the staircase was accidentally left open, and the collapsed cardboard boxes revealed a stairwell behind them. When we saw that, we intended to divide the club members into 2 groups, one for the basement and one for the 2nd floor, but we were all feeling upset and rushed downstairs.
しーちゃん
She-chan! But fortunately, that worked in our favor. Reina had good eyesight and was able to see someone pointing a gun at the back of a man in a lab coat over by the door at the end of the hall. Then we ran down the hallway. When I finally adjusted to the darkness, I could see the man in the lab coat was the coach, so I cried out.
何してんだシオン
What are you doing, Shion?
来るな
Don't come any closer!
みんなそこを動くな
Nobody move! Even though it was just a warning shot, hearing it in this enclosed space made us all stop at once. Even from this distance, I could tell how distraught the coach looked, and that Shion was holding the gun in both hands with her back to the door, pointing it to threaten us.
シオン
Shion!
みんなしてみんなで私を騙して嘘ばかり言って
Everyone. Everyone has been lying and deceiving me.
サトシ君のことみんなで隠してたんでしょ
You've all been hiding Sachi-kun from me, haven't you?
は
Huh?
あ何言ってるのさシオン
Shion, what are you talking about?
サトシが一体どうしたっていうの
Who said anything about Sachi-kun?
とぼけるなミオ
Don't play dumb, Mion.
一緒に探そうって私の気持ち分かってくれるって言ってくれて嬉しかったのに
When you told me we'd search...
嬉しかったのに
When you told me we'd search for him together, I was so happy. So happy that you finally understood my feelings.
あれもみんな嘘だったのか
And yet, that was all a lie!
意味わかんないよ
I don't know what you mean.
なんでそんなこと言うのさ
Why? Why are you saying this?
私の言うことなんで信じてくれないのよ
Why don't you believe me?
みーごめんなさい
Me... I'm sorry.
僕のせいなのです
This is my fault. Mion was half crying, and Rika-chan tugged at her sleeve to stop her. Then she slowly stepped in front of us and turned toward the coach. She...
みーは本当に知らなかったのです
Me really didn't know about this.
ここにいる中で知っていたのは入江と僕だけです
The only people here who knew were me and Irie.
だから他の人たちは関係ないのです
So, this has nothing to do with anyone besides us.
リカさん
Rika-san.
リカちゃん
Rika-chan.
あんたもこの悪党とグルだったんですか
So you're in league with this scoundrel too?
サトシ君の体をもて遊んで人体実験をしていたこの男と
This man who has been toying with Sachi-kun's body? Using him for human experiments?
サトシってどういうこと
Satoshi? What do you mean?
あの子ここにいるの
Are you saying he's here?
人体実験ってリカちゃん何なの
Human experiments? Rika-chan, what are they talking about?
意味わかんないよ説明して
I don't understand. Please explain. Rika-chan looked back over her shoulder with a pained expression to see Mion and Rina looking confused. I realized something when I saw that face and began to speak up.
そのシオンの後ろの部屋に
That room behind Shion.
サトシがいるのか
That's where Satoshi is?
み
Me...
そうなの
Really?
サトシ生きてたの
Satoshi's still alive?
その部屋にいるの
And he's right there in that room?
生きてるなんて言えるか
Can you really call that being alive?
こんな扱いされて新薬の試験体
Being treated like a test subject to develop new drugs?
誰が認めた誰が許可した誰がそんなこと言って言った
Who decided that? Who allowed it? Who Who said that was a good idea?
あんたたちはサトシ君の体を使ってよくもそんな非人道的なことを。
How dare you use Satoshi-kun's body for something inhumane?
試験体というなら僕も同じなのです。
I'm also being used as a test subject.
僕もサトコも試験体としてこのひなみ沢症候群の研究に協力しています。
Satoko and I are both cooperating as test subjects to support the research into Hinamizawa syndrome.
この病気の実態を解明するためには入江たちの新薬の効能を生きた人間で確かめる必要があるのですよ。
If we want to learn the inner workings of the disease, we need to test the effectiveness of Irie's new drugs on living people. Huh? Mion and Rina were both completely at a loss after hearing a combination of words that they never expected to hear. I had at least heard about this endemic disease before, but I was surprised to learn that Satoko was participating in the research too.
じゃあサトコも
Then, even Satoko?
サトコは知らないのです。
Satoko doesn't know.
もうすべて打ち明けますが、サトコは一時ひなみ沢症候群の末期症状に陥りました。
I think it's time to tell you all about it. At one point, Satoko fell ill with terminal symptoms of Hinamizawa syndrome.
あの子の命を救うためには、このプロジェクトに参加して新薬の実験投与を受け続けるしか方法がなかったのですよ。
Joining this project and continue to experiment in new drugs was the only way to save her life.
なぜそれを言ってくれなかったんだ。
Why didn't you tell us?
それは俺も初耳だぞ。
This is the first time I've heard of that, you know?
サトコが発病したのはとても悲しい事故がきっかけでした。
Satoko became ill because of a very unfortunate accident.
できればケイイチやシー、サトコのことを大切に思っている人たちには永遠に言いたくなかったのです。
Keiichi, I wanted to avoid telling you this to the people who care about Satoko as much as possible.
3年前、あの子は新しい父親にどうしても馴染めず、毎日の生活にストレスを抱えていました。
3 years ago, she was having a hard time getting used to her new father and dealing with a lot of stress in her daily life.
それってまさか
Then, no way. You mean... Rikishan turned her gaze downward at Mion's question, in order to shoulder the burden of that painful feeling. The coach spoke up.
3年前の綿流しの時です。
3 years ago, on the day of Wadnagashi.
サトコちゃんのご両親は彼女を連れてドライブに行きましたが、
Satoko-chan's parents went on a trip with her, but
その到着した先の崖で転落事故に遭われてしまった。
the two of them died falling off a cliff there.
警察の発表では柵が老朽化したための事故死とされましたが、私たちの調査によると誰かに突き飛ばされた説が有力です。
According to the official police statement, it was considered an accident due to the deteriorated railing there, but according to our investigation, there was a very strong possibility that they were pushed by someone.
そして現場近くの目撃情報から考えても、そこにいたのは北条夫妻とサトコちゃんだけだった。
And if you consider eyewitness testimony, people near the scene were just the Hojo couple and Satoko-chan. That's a lie! Unable to bear it any longer, Shion cried out.
じゃあサトコの両親はあの子が殺したとでも言うんですか？
Then, you're saying that Satoko is the one who killed her parents?
言っておきますけど、あの子はそんな子じゃない。
Let me tell you, Satoko isn't that kind of girl.
いたずら好きだけど優しくて、意志が強くて、物の分別がちゃんとつけられる子なんです。
She likes to play pranks, but she's gentle and strong-willed. She's the kind of girl that knows right from wrong.
いくら憎くても、殺したいと思っても、サトコがそんなことをするわけがない。
No matter how much she hated them, no matter how much she might have wanted to kill them, Satoko would never do that.
勝手なことを言って、あの子のことを悪く言ってごまかしたりするな。
Don't just go saying whatever you want. I won't let you slander her to dodge my questions.
それをしてしまうのがひなみ沢症候群なの。
That's true, but it's because of Hinamizawa syndrome. Rikishan shook her head and spoke in a downhearted voice.
ひなみ沢症候群にかかった人は周りのすべての人が自分に敵意を向けていると思い込んでしまう。
People affected with Hinamizawa syndrome perceive everyone around them as an enemy.
ちょっとした言動、仕草にも疑い、邪推し、 不安を抱いて。
Even seemingly trivial words or actions will make them feel doubt and groundless suspicion, filling them with insecurity.
自分を防衛しようと思うあまりに攻撃的な感情になる。
It leads to aggressive emotions driving one to self-defense.
でもシオン、
But Shion,
あなたの言うように聡子は悪くない。
what you said is true. It's not Satoko's fault.
あの子はとても優しくて甘えん坊で、それが病気のせいで間違った方向に行ってしまっただけ。
She's a sweet, gentle girl who was merely pushed in the wrong direction by this disease.
それは私もこの入江も分かっていること。
Irie and I both understand that.
だから私は聡子ちゃんを救いたいと思いました。
That's why I want to help Satoko-chan.
そのために投薬と検査を繰り返してみましたが、ずっとはかばかしい結果は望めなくて。
I've been repeatedly testing medication in order to do that, but it'd be unreasonable to expect results anytime soon.
それに加えて症状の影響で聡子ちゃんは新しい両親鉄平夫婦に対しても反抗的になってしまい、彼らの対応も相まって症状は悪化する一方だった。
And in addition to that, given the severity of Satoko-chan's symptoms, her conflict with her new parents, Teppei and his wife, and their poor response only worsened her symptoms.
そして去年の綿流しから数日後の晩、私はサトシ君と会ったんです。
And a few days after last year's Watanagashi, I met up with Satoshi-kun.
サトシ君はもう白状しますが、おばを殺したことを私に打ち明けてくれました。
Satoshi-kun, I decided to reveal this. He confessed to me that he had killed his aunt.
それでも警察に自首する前に、せめて聡子ちゃんへの誕生日プレゼントを買っておきたいと言ったので、私は彼をおもちゃ屋に送迎したのです。
Nevertheless, he said that he wanted to buy a birthday present for Satoko-chan before turning himself in to the police, so I brought him to a toy store.
そしてそのぬいぐるみを買い、警察署へと向かう途中でした。
So, he bought the stuffed animal, then we were on our way to the police station.
助手席に座っていたサトシ君が突然暴れ出したんです。
Satoshi-kun was sitting in the passenger seat, and he suddenly went on a rampage.
そして運転する私に向かって物を投げたり殴りかかったり、ついには歯をむき出しにして噛みついてきました。
He started throwing things and swinging his fist at me even though I was still driving, and then he bared his teeth and bit me.
私も必死に彼を取り押さえようとしましたが、
I desperately tried to restrain him.
やがて彼が自分の喉元をガリガリとかきむしり出したとき、ひなみ沢症候群の発病を悟りました。
Eventually, he began scratching at his throat, and I realized that this was the onset of Hinamizawa syndrome.
それで仕方なく彼を偶然持っていた麻酔薬で眠らせてこの研究所に運んだんです。
So, I forcefully put him to sleep using an anesthetic I happened to have on hand, then brought him to this laboratory.
何としても救いたかった。
I wanted to help him at any cost.
シオンさんやサトコちゃん、彼のことを大切に思う人たちに悲しい思いをさせてはいけない。
I knew the people who cared about him, like Shion-san and Satoko-chan, would be disconsolate, so I couldn't let that happen.
でも現実は残酷でした。
But reality was cruel.
検査の結果、サトシ君の症状はレベル5。
The exam results revealed that Satoshi-kun's symptoms had reached level 5, L5.
通常なら予後不良としてマニュアルに従い安楽死を命ぜられる状態だったんです。
In accordance with the manual, prognosis that negative normally results in order to euthanize the subject.
私は悩んだ。
So that word. I was in a dilemma.
このまま生きていたところでサトシ君に人間としての幸せは訪れない。
There was no way Satoshi-kun could live a happy human life the way things were.
ならばいっそ。
And so,
そう思う一方で、今後の医学の進歩という一縷の望みにかけたかった。
But, on the other hand, I wanted to think there was a glimmer of hope in the future of medical progress.
そのために私は上層部と周囲のスタッフを説得し、彼を新薬の試験体という名目でこの部屋に
So,
閉じ込めたのです。
So, to that end, I persuaded upper management and other staff to have him confined to this room for testing of new drug samples. Yes, to lock him away in here.
でも皮肉ですね。
But it's ironic.
彼というサンプルの存在のおかげで遺伝子情報がとてもよく似ていた聡子ちゃんを救い、症状を回復させる新薬を作る手立てとなったんですから。
Thanks to the samples we got from him and the fact that Satoko-chan's genetic makeup was very similar to his, we were able to develop new drugs capable of suppressing symptoms and save her.
じゃあ聡子が今研究に協力しているというのは。
So, you're saying Satoko is currently cooperating with your research because...
研究の対象として扱っていることを否定はしません。
I can't deny that she's being treated as a test subject.
非人道的だという批判も甘んじて受けるつもりです。
You're welcome to criticize me for doing something inhumane.
でもそうでもなければ、聡子ちゃんを救い、サトシ君をかばう手立てがなかった。
But without that, there'd be no way to help Satoko-chan or to protect Satoshi-kun.
医療保険制度が適用されるとはとても思えない。この病気の治療には莫大な金がかかる。
It's doubtful that this disease would be covered by any form of medical insurance, and treatment would be extremely expensive.
だから私は二人を被験体として国の援助を。
So, I experimented on the two of them, using state funds.
他に方法が思いつかなかった。
I couldn't come up with any other solution.
そんな
No way. It can't be. Shion violently trembled as she pointed the gun at Irie. Satoshi-kun's illness was incurable. Unable to accept that harsh, cruel fact, tears came spilling out. She cried out, while the look of sadness and despair on her face gradually transformed into murderous intent.
そんな作り話、私が信じるとでも？
You expect me to believe that made-up story?
騙されない。もう絶対騙されない。
I won't be fooled. I'll never let you trick me again.
あんたはそう言ってサトシ君を手放したくないだけなんだ。
You're only saying that because you don't want to lose Satoshi-kun.
自分の地位と名誉と
You're only worried about your status and reputation.
欲望を満たすためにサトシ君を利用したい。
You just want to use Satoshi-kun to sate your selfish desires.
それだけなんでしょ？
That's all this is, isn't it?
シオン。
Shion.
しーち
Shi-chan.
嘘だ。みんな嘘つきだ。
That's a lie. You're all lying.
サトシ君は病気なんかじゃない。そんな得体の知れない病気なんか知るものか。
Satoshi-kun isn't sick. He doesn't have some unknown illness.
目を覚ましたらまた笑ってくれるんだ。
If he wakes up, he'll smile like he always did.
私の頭を優しく撫でて、ムーって言って笑ってくれるんだ。
He'll gently pat my head and say, with a smile on his face. Face. As Shion passionately declared that, she shoved the tip of the pistol between the coach's eyebrows. Then she pulled the hammer back and put her finger on the trigger.
やめろ、シオン。
Stop, Shion!
やめてください、シオンさん。
Please stop, Shion-san! That voice. Footsteps came rushing over from behind. We all turned back at once. Oh man, that cry. The girl yelling that out was...
サトコ。
Satoko?
もういいのです。
Enough!
もういいのでございますわ、シオンさん。
Please, that's enough, Shion-san.
どうかもうやめてくださいまし。
Please stop this already. Satoko stepped in front of the muzzle, spread her arms to protect the coach, while screaming and spilling tears with a sweaty expression on her pale face. Shion was, Or rather, all of us watching the scene were struggling to grasp whether what we were witnessing was actually real.
サトコ、気がついて。どこまで？
Satoko, how much of that did you hear?
聞かせていただきましたわ。
I was able to hear it.
私の3年前のあの事件のことから病気のことまで全部。
Everything. From the incident 3 years ago to my illness, all of it. Rikishan gasped and froze as soon as she heard that. But when I looked at her with her eyes full of despair, Satoko responded with a lonely smile as she continued.
リカが黙っていても気づいていましたのよ。
Even though Rika kept quiet about it, I already knew.
時々夢でも見るんですもの。あの時の思い出は。
Even though Rika kept... I'm sorry. Sometimes I have dreams and memories of that day.
サトコ。
I lost my place there for a sec. Satoko!
でも皆さんがどう言ってくださろうと、どう思ってくださろうとも。
But no matter what anyone says, no matter what anyone thinks,
私の罪は永遠に消えることはないのですわ。
my sin will never disappear.
そのせいでニーニーにも迷惑をいっぱいかけて辛い思いをさせて。
And because of that, I made a great deal of trouble and hardship for Nini.
私は本当に最悪の疫病神なのでございますわ。
I am truly an awful god of pestilence.
そんなこと言うな、サトコ。
Satoko, don't say that.
俺はお前のことをそんな風に思ったことなんか一度だってない。
I never once thought of you like that.
お前は俺たちの最高の仲間だろうが。
You're our precious friend.
そうだよ。
That's right.
レナ、サトコちゃんのことが大好きだよ。
Satoko-chan, Rina loves you.
サトコちゃんがいるから毎日がとっても楽しいんだから。
Every day is so much more fun because you're there with us.
サトコ、村の人間があんたに冷たくしても何もできなくて本当に悪いと思ってる。
Satoko, the villagers treated you so coldly, and yet we couldn't do anything for you. I'm really sorry about that.
でもこれからは私たちがあんたのことを全力で守ってみせる。
But from now on, we'll do our best to protect you.
あんたが幸せだって本気で思えるまで精一杯力になってみせるから。
I'll do everything I can to help until you feel truly happy.
サトコ、そんな悲しいことを言わないでくださいなのです。
Satoko, please don't say something so sad.
サトコが疫病神なら僕は神様なんて信じないのです。
Even if you say you're a god of pestilence, I don't believe in gods.
それにサトコと一緒にいる
It's a
僕
funny
は
line.
とても幸せなのですよ。
Besides, I'm always so happy when I'm around you, Satoko.
皆さん、
Everyone. Satoko looked so happy. She put on a gleeful smile and scrunched her face to hold back the tears. And then, she turned to Shion once more.
私は本当にダメな人間でございます。
I truly am an awful human being.
だけど、そんな私をこんなにも優しく力強く励ましてくれるみんながいる。
But despite that, there are people willing to give me strong, kind-hearted encouragement.
そしてみんなと同じように監督さんもこんな私をいつも元気づけてくださったり心配してくださいましたわ。
And just like everyone else, the coach has always been worried about me and doing his best to cheer me up.
それは
Well...
あんたを試験体として。
But you're being used as a test subject.
いいのです。
That's fine.
それでもお役に立てるのでしたら。
Besides, if there's anything I can do to help... What?
私の幸せのためにこんなにも頑張ってくれる人がいる。
There are people out there working hard for the sake of my happiness.
だから私はそんな皆さんのためにできることをしたいのです。
So I wish to do what I can for everyone else.
そして私のことを皆さんが信じてくださるように私も皆さんを信じたい。
And I want to believe in everyone else just as they believe in me.
ニーニーのことは確かに驚きました。でも私に内緒にしていたのはちゃんと理由があったからだってわかる。
It's true I was terribly surprised to learn about Nini, but I can clearly tell there was a reason to keep it a secret.
みんなも私のことを思いやってくださっていたのだから私もその優しさを疑ったりしない。
Everyone is being considerate of me, so I have no reason to doubt their kindness.
仲間も監督さんも
My friends, the coach,
そしてシオンさん、私のネーネーも。
and you too, Shion-san. You're my Nini. Nini.
サトコ。
Satoko. Slowly, as Satoko said that, Shion was still holding the gun, but Satoko slowly walked up to her and put both her hands on Shion's. And then, as Shion looked down at her with a bewildered expression, Satoko nodded with a big smile on her face. Please. Nene. Not Nini. Things are scary and worrying when I'm all alone, so would you believe together that someday Nini will come home? You're okay with that? You're able to endure that? No matter how long it takes, no matter how much she believes, Satoshi-kun still may not come home, right? Even if she keeps hoping and praying, her thoughts might still end up betrayed in the end. That's what Shion's eyes were asking. However, Satoko maintained a calm, bright smile and steadily nodded her head. I'm certain that I'll be able to keep waiting. Because Shion-san feels the exact same way as me, and she's here taking care of me. Because I have my Nene. After hearing those words from Satoko, the look on her face, desperately forcing a smile, even though she wanted to cry. Little by little, my frozen heart was melting, healing. Even though you want to cry too. Even though you want to scream and cry, even more so than me. Even though you want to vent your feelings on someone. Why are you so concerned about someone like me? Hey, Satoshi-kun, I understand. I finally understand how you could keep doing everything you could to protect this girl, no matter how painful it was. Satoko is our little sister. She's such a courageous, thoughtful girl. Man, if I was Irie in this whole situation, I'd be so pissed. I just gotta say, like, fuck. I've been shot at. I'm hurt. Yelled at. Both of Shion's arms dropped and the gun fell to the floor. Then she knelt on the ground, sniffling and crying. Satoko snuggled up to her. Shion hugged her little body and cried out. Satoko! Satoko! Sorry. I'm sorry. Thanks, Nene. Thank you for all you've done for me. I knew. Deep down, I knew it. But it was so sad and painful, my heart wouldn't stop. I was full of shame and regret, and I didn't know what to do. Right. I know that already. Because my Nene is a very, very kind person. Satoko! Satoko! Satoko buried her crying face in Shion's chest. Eventually, Satoko seemed to be moved by Shion's feelings, so she joined Shion in crying out loud for a while longer, just holding one another and crying. Those were the tears of a very, very kind-hearted pair of sisters. Irie's bleeding out on the hospital floor. Someone attend to Irie medically quickly. Bullets grazing his face. Shot in the arm. Alright, we gotta call it a night. Ugh. We keep having these near... I don't know what to describe them. Near upsetting, dangerous situations, and literally and figuratively dodging the bullets of the card of the house of cards. That's the phrase I'm looking for. Crumbling. We're avoiding them just crumbling down to the table. As it's like I said, kind of like dodging bullets here of like the fragment failing and falling apart to get to the best outcome. It's kind of an interesting take. I think I probably mentioned this earlier, but this is obviously, like, I think it was from the get-go told, like, this is a different take on the final chapter, right? And so we're seeing it, obviously things are shaking out differently. It's kind of like some things are moved and changed around. But I at least will say it is somewhat interesting to see, like, oh, what we do is we get basically the truncated experience of everyone overcoming. We're getting like a more detailed look of, oh, everyone in the club and the group of friends, like, overcoming their own trials that they have to overcome for basically everything to work out. We're getting that, like, we're purposely, like, getting, like, a little moment where everyone is, like, learning how to be better and overcoming things, and so it's kind of nice. All right, so like I said, this is gonna be the last Higurashi stream for a bit. At the soonest, it'd be a week from today on Tuesday, but most likely it'll probably be like a week and a half from today that we'll join back up for more Higurashi reading. You know, just because of scheduling stuff and everything, schedule-wise, outside of stream life stuff I'm doing, and then to be frank, some in-stream stuff. There's gonna be some times when I'm like, you know what, we're just gonna hold off on Higurashi for a bit. So most likely in a week from today, a week and a half, I mean, we'll be back on Higurashi, seeing more of this. But yeah, tomorrow should be Pokemon Legends Arceus, continuing that. Still having a lot of fun with that. So that is the plan for tomorrow night on stream. And then nothing on Thursday. And then either more Valkyria Chronicles, or if we're really feeling spicy, Crash Bash on Friday night. So, thanks so much for listening, watching, listening. I don't know. Some people have me in like another tab. Whatever the case is. Watching with your eyes closed, perhaps. Whatever your situation is. It's all valid. Have yourself a nice rest of your night. Take it easy, stay safe, stay well. Until the next stream or the next Higurashi stream.